Hello, 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 hello. Oh, wait, where am I? Just a moment. Where did I go? Huh? I was just there. Huh. Okay. Alright, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know why I was off screen. I was there. I must have accidentally pressed a button, something that flew me far to the right. I didn't know that was even possible. Alright. I already started doodling a little bit. I always try and do kind of a little bit of drawing beforehand where I'm like, all right, can I? Is it worth even streaming art today? And the answer is yes. So to my left, oh yeah, my intro. Don't go too fast. Welcome in, everybody. It is I, your most beloved Marin Margrave Matilda Portier, or you can just call me Mettie. Today we are working on simplified drawings. And you might be like, Mettie, what does that mean? And why is there not your art to the left? And the answer is, to the left, it is Tetsuya Nishio's art, who is an artist that has affected my whole life, pretty much. Well, not my whole life, I'm 900 years old, but has affected a lot of my art life. And one of the reasons why is he is actually a famous character designer, especially for animations. Most notably, he is the character artist. So like he does all the reference images and expression charts and all these sort of fine details to give to all the animators for several different series. Most popular, most well-known work is he's done the work for Naruto, but the first time I really was introduced to his work was the anime I won't shut up about, the Portrait de la Petite Cosette. And so he's actually, you can see a lot of his influences in my art. He's been a big inspiration to me in all of his works that he's done. And so one of the reasons why I have him pulled up to this side and why I'm working on simplified art is what's simplified about it isn't necessarily stylizing it to be smaller, but it's how can I make my own design as efficient as possible, where in an animated setting, it can convey depth and motion easily while still not being overwhelmingly complex. I've been wanting to work a lot more in animation. Not necessarily working as a job, but I would like to make more animations, so being able to have a simplified design for myself would be incredibly useful. So I am going to be spending today just thinking about like what is some ways I can simplify my own designs with inspirations from Tetsuya Nishio, where I can then use it in an animated setting without feeling like tearing out my hair, because I have worked on animation a lot over the years. I've had the version of Clipstudio Paint that has the animation features unlocked since I think 2017. So I've been on and off working on little things, and I would like to start, animating my own little shorts and little clips, but also working on lore. And while I am a comic artist, I really do love animation. Lucy, welcome in! Thank you for lurking. That's another thing that I would like to work on as well, is I would like to make an animation for lurking. That way there can be a cute little Batoyan, my fan mascot, that can go to sleep. I think that would be very cute. So what I'm doing right now is just trying to work on what would a simplified version, a character of myself be. Now, the main thing that I think is going to bother me the most when it comes to animating myself are these ears. Now, I think that they are interesting, and I would like to see them animated because they are indeed fins and fingers, and that's kind of an interesting mix. So seeing them move would help get into perspective, like what they actually are. I can hear my cat in the kitchen just yelling. He's gotten obsessed with this knitted mouse. It's a crocheted mouse. And he just keeps having it in his mouth and just screaming. He's very, very cute. Because, okay, there's a few ways I could think about doing this. A part of me kind of wants my hair to be longer than my ears. Because if I have it longer than my ears, you will just see the bottom of my ears. And that will allow me to focus on animating the hair more than the fingers. Because I feel like rotating my ears in a 3D space, because when you're animating, you actually have to bring depth and life into it. It's gonna be a bit more difficult. So I could make it easier for myself, or I could be like, actually just get good. And the Dark Souls player in me is like, actually just get good. And I am kind of curious about this. Oh, that's right. I should also pull up my chat on my phone. My computer's been kind of odd about the chat. And the lights in my room are flickering, which I think is just because they're getting old. But best make sure that I don't miss any messages. There we go. I'm so sleepy. I've been sleeping most of the day away. But I woke up and I had a call from my sister, so I had to respond to that and chat with her for a bit, and I was still half asleep while on the phone, and I cooked some eggs and made some tea. Oh, today I am drinking a green tea. But it's one of those like shitty, like branded as matcha green teas, but it isn't matcha at all. Forget what brand it is. But I kind of, it smells like matcha, but it isn't actually matcha, and that's good. I mean, it honestly feels a bit more like genmaicha in its taste. I love tea. When I met my brother-in-law, he said, "Oh my gosh, you have so many things that you're passionate about." I'm like, yeah, I do. I got excited to show him my nice Chinese tea set for Gong Fu, and I was making him some really, really nice tea and tea oranges and talking about a lot about tea culture, and he's like, wow. I have a complex relationship with all of my family, but I'm happy that my sister is somebody that she truly loves, and he's a pretty good guy. Every human's had their set of problems, and if he's a nightmare that she can handle and she's a nightmare he can handle, then that's all I can ask for. I keep thinking about the phrasing of humanity is synonymous with erroneous, which is erroneous meaning bound to have errors, right? Humans are bound to make mistakes and be full of flaws, and so it's just to be expected with all of them. I've been thinking about that a lot. Life is full of nuances. All these little details and situations that make up the whole and sum of your being. The you of today can be you different from the you of tomorrow in a lot of ways. So much can change. Alright, this is 5. I feel like sometimes I draw myself with 6. But no. I think I'm going to always kind of keep the webbing just a pitch black because it makes it so much easier. There's a lot of my design which is genuinely just shortcuts for me to make it easier. And one of them is I like to make my hair parts where it kind of folds over. I usually make that pitch black, or at least dark. And then, of course, you know, using my skin and hair and pretty much, and even some of my outfits just mostly being white, I then can go in and just shade over it. So it's very easy just to use a bucket tool to color me all in and then just shade on top of it. So in a lot of ways, my design is already simplified in a lot. But there's a lot that I still want to adjust. I learned a lot about how I wanted to draw myself when I was working on the animated music video for my lag train cover. Oh, hey man! How are you doing? I hope that today's treating you really, really well. We are drawing once again and just taking it easy. I'm trying to simplify my design a bit so it can be easier to put into animation, because I do want to work on some of it more. I'm doing alright, how about you? Doing pretty good. I'm still very sleepy. I got some yummy tea next to me, and little bit by little bit I'm still waking up. And I'm excited to get more progress on this. Having a simplified design that is easy just to place in an environment. Just working again like always. Hell yeah. Working may not always be the most fun thing, but it is quite nice to be able to be reassured that you do have an income coming in and there is something at least to do every single day. But I hope work has been treating you well. Hope you haven't been too bored. It's been a long time since I've had to actually work a proper job. Or have I ever? I feel like working as a caretaker is very different. I would love to actually go back to working as a caretaker. Definitely my specialty is I like cleaning and maintaining things, and maybe sometime down the line I'll go back to it. But also right now I'm kind of living the artist dream, being able to take it easy and just draw and work on my comics and such. I was really happy. I deleted Discord, and then after the fact I was like, wait, I should have sent more messages to people, like specifically letting them know and also where to find me, especially when it comes down to voice acting. And I messaged one of the people that I do voice acting for, Axel Derb. It's on YouTube. You can please check him out when you get the chance. He's got some really cool videos. And he's been doing a dubbed over Let's Play. And so I was doing a voice for one of the characters, Robert, who's this kind of eccentric sort of trader mouse. And I was like, oh wait, he still has more of that. And so I messaged him on Blue Sky. I was like, hey, you can find me here. Like, sorry I didn't let you know. And so I was just doing a lot of that. Unfortunately, I can't remember a lot of the people that I'm like, I should have, regarding voice acting, I should have messaged. But it's fine. I've been getting more and more these days back into the swing of things. Like this 2026, I've been taking it pretty easy, but finally getting back into working on my vocals and covers and slowly getting my way back into voice acting, which is nice. I'll definitely need people to know how to contact you. Yeah, that's the thing, is like I have my email and I have like most of my contact information, but it's like, oh yeah. There are some people that's like, hey, you know, I have this project coming up, or I loved working with you, and it's like, fuck. I've always really preferred that people would just message me through my email if it's like for work or like other things. I understand why Discord can be convenient, especially for people who are directing voice actors, but it's like, I've never really been that big of a fan of Discord, and so getting rid of it was a little too easy. I was a little too fast to be like, oh wait, they're doing something morally and ethically fucked up. All right. But now it's like, fuck. That's fine. That's one of the biggest problems I think my friends and people in my life have had is I'm very casual about any relationship I have to a certain extent in the way that like I don't really think that much of it if I can never contact somebody again. Like I don't really have much of an attachment to that sort of thing. So it's like, well, the issue is how publicly used Discord is. Yeah. That's the thing is it's like, back in the day, it used to just be like, oh yeah, your friends and gamers can just be with each other, and now it's like used for forums, it's used for work. Some people use it for school, which I think is crazy, and it's like, oh. One of the apps to trust that most have, I know. So it's something that's a bit more difficult, but I think probably when it goes into looking into more voice acting work, I'll just have to choose ones that don't use Discord at all. I definitely prefer just sending the files, and there's like specific programs made for voice acting, and doing voice acting calls, which I think I would just prefer to do, but I don't know. I'm never going to be against people using Discord because for most things you just need it, unfortunately. Never was a big fan of it, but use it because everyone else does. Yeah. There was a time in my life where I used to have like friends, and we'd be on Discord calls a lot and Discord servers, but that was back in 2019. And then I just kind of got burned out using it, especially leading to 2020. And then I've been using it. I used to use it a little bit. Like last summer, I had some of the Ghosttownmetties being like, hey, do you have a Discord server? But I was like, I mean, I could set one up, and then I did, but I'm not good at using it. If I ever got like a job that I really wanted and I needed it, I'd probably get it, but it's funny being a streamer, but kind of also being a shut-in. Like, I do love chatting with people, and I love hearing about their days, but also at the same time, it's like sitting in call with a bunch of people and doing things. I don't know, it's not really my style, which is funny because, like, streaming is, like, fairly different. I think it's because the pacing kind of makes me a little nervous, I guess. Well, I'm a big reader. Like, I don't watch many shows. I spend most of my time reading, so I think that's probably why. Because when I read people's messages, it's a lot easier for me to think about what they're saying. I feel like that's different though. Yeah. Discord has also a lot of like cultures and rules, and it's very interesting. I don't know if I like that hair. I'm gonna go down. I feel like with streaming, you are yourself, and everyone who watches you has something similar. True. That's one of the reasons why I like working on art on streams a lot right now, is especially like, I like just talking to people, especially if they have projects they're working on or something about art they really like. Compared to Discord where it's like kinds of everywhere, yeah. Like there can be like specific interest Discords, but even then. I'm going to erase the brows and little bits that the hair should be hiding. I'm having a lot of fun though right now, just kind of being a bit more of a shut-in. Kind of feels nice. I've been spending a lot of time outside, not really, like, kind of just allowing myself to live a life. And I feel like that's one of the problems I've had, especially using Discord, is encountering people that are a bit more online than me, or extremely more online than me, because I am just a very, very, like, I do like streaming and I like all these things, but I'm not really somebody where the modern day lingo is easily something that I will use. I kind of feel a lot more normie in that way, some would say. Like, I like going out in parks and touching grass and watching rivers and feeding the birds and hanging out with my cats. Though I got my childhood friend called me the other day, and she's gotten into building like RC cars, like radio controlled cars, which is just like a really, really interesting thing. I've talked about her before. She's my friend who's 6'4", 190 centimeters, and she's also a welder. Super, super cool. I've known her since I was born, and so she was asking if I wanted to go out and she could show me her car and drive around. And don't worry, modern day lingo is weird. That's one of the things is, like, when I used to work, I was mostly working with old timers, so like, it's very, very interesting. I definitely have some like modern lingo, but like the last time I was really online was in the 2010s, especially early 2010s, and I've been actually thinking about on it quite a bit. Just seeing Nightbot just like deleting messages, it's like I have no clue what. Well, now what did you do? Ah, just ads. Yeah, but the last time I really had, and then even then I don't reuse a lot of that lingo because it's like, oh god. I've been seeing a lot more like mentioning of like old lingo from that time, and I used to be on Tumblr, which back in that time especially, and it's like, oh god, don't make me go back there. But that was a really interesting time on the internet because so much of the lingo was still very much like, ooh, random XD, and so much of it's like, what the hell? And I feel like it's really funny because I see a lot of people nowadays kind of like looping back into that. Like, I have had like the joke 6'7" explained to me, and it fits very much. Like, it does feel like a successor to that kind of humor. Oh god, Tumblr, yeah, exactly. I used to, back in the 2010s, early 2010s, like, I used to be into Homestuck and, like, a lot of, like, I was never, like, a Supernatural fan, but I used to be into, like, Doctor Who, and just looking back, like, there's a reason why I'm like, no, I don't want to be part of Discord, no, and I don't really want to be a part of a lot of this, because I've walked similar roads, and I'm kind of not interested in doing that again. Yeah. So I it's fun seeing people having fun, but it is like I'm in a different stage of my life, I feel. Well, it's just all repeating itself. Throughout time, humans are usually doing about the same stuff. History always rhymes. That's something that I love. That's one of the biggest things that I love studying is just history of all kinds. Regardless of region or country or timeline, it's just fun. Because in so many ways, humans are still just the same. There's some reassurance in that. But like for me right now, I'm just kind of living a life. No, we gotta wait for Alt 4chan to come out? Oh god. Nightmare. I feel it. It's probably coming. Okay, I started drawing this without even properly thinking about it, because this is very much off of my current outfit. My current outfit, well, it's kind of a mishmash of different things. It was originally inspired by, like, the 1800s, but a lot more casual, because it is just, like, sword work. But, I don't know. It's kind of a outfit outside of time and place. Because vests weren't really that common until 1700s. Could be about 1700s, but I'll have to do some variations on outfits. I have my official outfit that's from the 15th century. And I have when I was alive in the 11th century. I mean, I could just work on my current outfit for now. Recounting X's 4chan? No. I mean, it kinda is the successor, or the equivalent. Originally it used to not bamming Twitter, but now that it's X, I mean, pretty much. It's very strange, because there's still a lot of people that are not very 4chan on X, but now it is. I mean, it's like, but there's still so much garbage and just bots filling it. I feel like 4chan is a very unique hellhole. I see a lot more similar behaviors on Reddit than I do 4chan, if I'm being honest. But Reddit still has a lot of useful things too. Like, it's kind of its own thing beyond 4chan. I'll adjust this here. I feel like a mix of X and Reddit makes up for it. How? Alright, so it kind of curves down like this, and then... Okay, so... body should be curved like that. It's really funny whenever I'm thinking about new outfits, I'm like, well, I gotta add a button up. I've literally 90% of my wardrobe is just button ups. I remember I was getting commission and they're like, oh yeah, you could like, if you could draw them like in their pajamas, but like, I don't know if they'd fall asleep in a button up though. And I'm like, well, I mean, I do that all the time. Very much counts on which side of Reddit you are, literally, exactly. Sometimes it's very 4chan, and sometimes it's like just normal people talking about, oh yeah, if you need to fix something this way, then you just need to get that. It's very, very interesting. Reddit's and all the different subreddits is crazy. I think in the animated version, I probably wouldn't keep my tattoo design. It's too much. I got the interesting takes that 4chan had. I guess the thing is, like, I feel like it's a mix between... Because there's, like, some things, some parts of 4chan that aren't on X, but are on Reddit, and then there's some parts of... Because, like, X still has, like, a lot of decent people on there. So it's, like, kind of both ways. It's, like, it matters on what side of the website you are on. I want to make these lines cleaner, but one of the things that I do with art is I don't use the stabilizer at all on any of my brushes. I remember the comedian that 4chan thought was the devil. I feel like I could read that on Reddit. Yeah. Yep. I feel like I've been making my jaw really strong recently. I had the same problem with the last cover music that I did, the illustration for it. I had to readjust my jaw like several times. I don't know why I keep doing that. When I originally was designing myself, I was very much like, ooh, I want to be a lot more like, very like Bishonen vibes, but now it's a lot more like, I feel like that's something though that like, when it came down to my more Bishonen design, I feel like there's like a very, like, I wanted my main design to be a lot more kind of mature looking, because that's kind of part of the vibes. I was about to say that's one defined jaw, literally. I'm trying to like undefine it. Like, this is just a shadow, and it's like, damn. I need to round it out. I don't know why I keep doing that. Like, I don't want it to have, like, the weak sort of anime pointy chin design, but there we go. That should be a bit better. I think I'm gonna lift the chin up a little bit. I don't have like a super defined jaw. I have like it's definitely has a decent amount of definition, but it's not to that extent. Well, your brand new drawing style, every drawing has a crazy defined draw. I think a big contributing factor might literally just be because JoJo's Part 7 Steel Ball Run came out. I think the JoJofication of my art is just slowly seeping in as I like think about the second episode and waiting for it to come out. Nah, was it good? JoJo? The second episode hasn't come out yet, but I do love Steel Ball Run. It's my favorite part manga. Never got into JoJo. I love JoJo. Well, it has a ton of musical references in it, and I'm very much like, for instance, one of my favorite musicians is like Neil Young, and there's several stand abilities, like abilities named after Neil Young songs, which is awesome, including my favorite one, Sugar Mountain, which is in Steel Ball Run. And then like one of my favorite musicians as well is Pat Metheny, who did one of the endings for Part 3. Like, there's a ton of music that I just absolutely love that there's references in. It was the art style that I was never the biggest fan. I see, that makes sense. It is a very, very intense art style. It changes a bit over the parts, but this is a very valid reason to not get into it. I'm a big fan of older anime art styles, so I really like JoJo's art. Whether it's part 1 or going up into part 9. But I'm a big music fan, so it's kind of cool to see abilities where you're like, oh my god, wait, that's craft work. I love craft work. I also had some of my closest friends are really into JoJo, so. My childhood friend I was talking about just a moment ago, she's really, really into JoJo. So she's actually one of the reasons that I started reading it. But, man, I mean, the first part of it is like very like vampire, like very classic 90s, 80s manga sort of vibes to it. And I love older manga. And again, never got too deep into anime. Watched some, but stuck to my little fanfics of books. Hell yeah. I like I'm very much mixed between a ton of different content. I love art and I love books in general. And it just so happens that anime is a huge part of, you know, the animation scene. Like, before I was into anime, I was actually very much more into independent French films and short films. Like, one of my all-time favorites is La Planète Sauvage, which is a really, really cool, trippy French animation that I love. So, I love animation, art, and writing in general. And anime was just a very, very natural thing to find myself enjoying. There are these short film festivals that I especially really, really love that are often Quebecois, and I love them. Oh, hey man, thank you for subscribing at tier 1! I always appreciate when people subscribe. As somebody who, like, uses Twitch, it's like, yeah, might as well. Had to get rid of ads real quick. I understand. It's easy to be watching people on Twitch and then it's like, wait, no, the curse of ads. And then you have to just subscribe. Especially if they're talking about something really interesting. It's like, oh, no, I want to hear this, please. Interrupting the convo, literally. It's rude as fuck. Yeah, but I like, liking anime was a very natural next step for me because it is, you know, I just genuinely love animation and comics a lot. I used to go to a comic book store a lot, especially in the 2000s and 2010s, and there was always like a lot of anime and manga there that I was introduced to. But also, I used to always go to public libraries too, and there's a lot of content there. Also, it was fun talking to you, so definitely deserve the sub. Thank you, Heyman. I am very, very glad that it is fun talking to you. I think it's very fun talking to you as well. I love when people come in here and we can just chat. And you're a very interesting person, so it definitely adds. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The first anime I really got into was back in the 2000s. There was I think there's some newer editions of it, but me and my sister used to watch Oja Majo Doremi, which is like a magical girl anime, but it has really interesting style, and the backgrounds are this really pretty watercolor. It's a very, very interesting series. And so we really liked that back in the 2000s. And then I was introduced, one of my, writing was also my big suit. Hell yeah. I love writing. When it comes into reading, I mean, I've talked about it before, but one of the main things that got me into reading was I was really big into especially Agatha Christie's works, and I loved murder mysteries. So that's one of the biggest things that I used to read, and I still to this day, like, murder mysteries are one of my all-time favorites. And then, you know, reading classics such as The Picture of Dorian Gray and all sorts of things, and that was really good. I used to read a ton of, especially young adult fiction, especially fantasy. Like, I love the Dragon Blood Tattoo series, such as with the main book Lamplighter, the first one. I love Lamplighter a lot by D.M. Cornish. And I also read a lot of China Medieval, like On London and such. Walter Mower's works was very fun for me to read, especially when I was younger. I love it. I'll write stuff off of animes or movies or just random stuff. Hell yeah. I love writing. I have several different stories that I'm working on, and some of them I just need to have in written format, but I am indeed a comic artist, so I try and do my best when it comes down to adapting things into arts firstly. I love writing. I would love to read some of your stuff at some point. I was never too much into fan fiction. I think the closest I got, I think the closest I got to really reading fan fiction was, I think that was 2016, One Punch Man. I end up just like, I got sick. I'm very prone to getting sick, and I got feverish, and I was watching One Punch Man, I think on Toonami, and I got like kind of like, I kept thinking about like Genos and Saitama, and I'm like, I need to write something about these two. I think that's the only time I've really written fan fiction. And read fan fiction, I should also say. Oh god, I haven't posted nothing yet? Well, whenever you do, feel free to let me know. I love reading people's writings. I read so much. I'm kind of in this conundrum though, because I love especially reading fantasy BL. That's like my main thing I love to read. Other people have posted your work though? Hell yeah. I support you. Writing is so good. I love. The house that I live in, we have a whole room dedicated to just being a library that is just covered from wall to wall with books, and then in my room I have just a huge bookshelf behind me that is just full of books and notebooks and writings and such. I love. In fact, when I was at the dentist the other day, they were like trying to make small talk, and they're like, oh, what are you planning to do after this? And I'm like, oh, I'll probably go to the library. And I had to go back the other day because they're finishing up some more dental work, and they were like mentioning like, oh, like going to the library again? I'm like, oh, maybe. But the library by me just got a cat too, and I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I love reading. I just love people's creative ventures too. One of my most favorite moments in my life is whenever I get to go to art exhibits. I've had friends who have had their works in galleries, and some women that I know too that put their work up or own galleries, and so it's always fun seeing what's going on. Way back when I would go to fanfics, I knew a lot or nothing about just anything and would find unfinished books, and I would try to finish it in their style and then send it to them. That's so cool! That's so neat. That's so fun. It's like, I don't know if I've ever tried finishing something that was left unfinished. That's really cool. I don't know if I could. Some would use it to finish their books, and some would ignore it, and some got inspired by it. Hell yeah. That's so cool, Heyman. I love it. One of these days after not posting the next chapter for my webcomic Witch of Mirrors, somebody's just gonna send me their own written, hey, you didn't finish this, so I finished it for you. That would be so funny. It's in the works. I'm just procrastinating, and anytime I do work on it, I end up trashing so many pages. I think that's the most difficult thing, is just trying to get things right. I give them full access to it and even acted like it was there. Hell yeah. That's really nice. That's really cool. What an interesting thing to do. I'm trying to... I always struggle with drawing shoulders. I always get way too conscious about it, but I have a friend that would always be like, Mettie, why do you always draw them with really broad shoulders? Which I think is funny because I have broad shoulders in real life. Like, that shit goes straight across. But he always had, like, really sloped down shoulders. And, like, so I always, like, start thinking about it a little too much. And then I start, like, over-adjusting or under-adjusting things, then, ugh. I'm always curious about, like, what my drawings look like to other people. I've talked about it before, but I have very interesting visual distortions due to just the fucked upness of my eyes. One of the reasons why I have glasses. And so, like, for instance, like my cornea is horizontally bent instead of like straight on, so it warps my perspective on everything. And I have like visual snow and other things that can all add extra distortions to it. So I'm always curious, like, I wonder what this looks like to somebody else. Alright, don't add lines. I'm adding too many details. It's supposed to be simple. One of my friends, Sola, got me into watching the 90s anime Detective Conan, which I still think is ongoing. And it has a very simplified art style that I actually really like. At first, I was like, eh. Like, when I saw just stills of it, it wasn't that great. But then when I actually watched the show, I'm like, this is great. And I've been thinking a lot about all the tips on how to do good character design and what to take into account that I've been told over the years, especially with the animation. And so that's one of the reasons I was feeling a bit more inspired today to work on simplifying my own design. That way I could work better in animation. This is just very much rough drafting it. Like, this is not at all close to what I would actually have. But it's something that's nice. What's your webtoon? I don't have a webtoon, but I do have it's on Global Comics. It's, The Witch of Mirrors on Global Comics. I can send a link. Just a second. There's also a link to it, underneath my stream. There's like a little button to it, if I remember correctly. It's always funny because they always just like send it immediately to the first page whenever I try and pull up a link, and it's like, you know what, fine. Let me see if I can get series info. Also, I'm hiding the screen for a reason that's not. There we go. Display. Yeah, I don't do webtoons because I understand the appeal of a scrolling format, but I'm not a scrolling format person. I'll pen that, just in case anybody wants to read it. Only the first chapter is out. Man, I made that vest stick out way too much. I would like to get more vests in my wardrobe. I used to wear them a lot when I used to work as a living caretaker, but the older woman I worked for, she was really into watching Downton Abbey, and she really liked having her own little butler. So she used to like clap her hands and go, "Mettie, darling, would you mind getting me this?" She's not British. She was an American woman, and I thought that was really cute. Don't blame you, I just use Webtoon because some of my favorite stories are on there. Hell yeah. That's the thing is, like, I've read the first scrolling format comic I read was actually Spirit Pact, which the arts is questionable, but I was like, yeah, why not? And so that was the first time I was introduced to it. And I was like, okay, cool. I kind of liked it though. It was the first thing that actually really got me into Danmei in general, which is Chinese BL. And so I liked that. And then I think the next one that I read that I really liked that was scrolling format. That's an interesting first. Well, that's something too, is like there was a donghua made for Spirit Pact. And so Spirit Pact was the first scrolling format I read because the anime never finished. And so I read the scrolling format because I wanted to see more of what happened. And then after that, I think it was City of Dead Sorcerers. Who wrote that one? It's a very successful writer because he also did Sweet Home, which would then later actually get a Netflix adaptation. Sweet Home is a really good horror webtoon scrolling format comic. It's really, really good. I'm almost on the tip of my tongue. I love City of Dead Sorcerers. It's so fucking stupid. I love that series. That's like an action, modern day fantasy with like some sci-fi elements to it. It's kind of a mishmash of a ton of different genres. I love the main characters a lot though. There's this one like panel I used to send to my friends where one of the main characters pointing and is like, "You won't be doing that to me, you dumb emo piece of shit." And I would just send it to them as a joke because some of them were a bit more like emo with their vibes. And I don't know, I love City of Dead Sources. Ki Kim. Nice. Yeah, I love his works though. He's a good writer. I like when he would have his like little bits where he would like make his own, like after the chapter he'd be talking about life, and he was like talking about being single and he's like, December 25th, you mean just another Thursday? And I thought that was so fucking funny. I love that sense of humor though. City of Dead Sorcerer. Let me see. I used to actually study Korean. I've had a lot of Korean influences in my life, especially growing up. Karnbi Kim, that's it. Kim Karnbi. Yeah, Karnbi Kim. I love that guy. He's funny as fuck. I love his writing. City of Dead Sorcerers is a lot more goofy. Sweet Home is sad, tragic. Like, it literally, the main character is extremely suicidal, and that's a huge, huge part of his character development and also just who he is. So, like, he's like a pathetic weeb who is waiting for his favorite anime movie to come out. His family's all dead. And he's like, well, what's the point of me existing? You know, he thinks he's absolute trash, and he lives in a shitty apartment, and he's planning on ending his life after this anime movie comes out, but then the world goes to shit, and now monsters are going on. It takes place in his apartment complex, and like, it's so interesting. I love how it was done. The Netflix adaptation is absolute garbage. They made the main character way too cool of a person, which kind of takes away from who he is, and I think that is just a weird thing to adjust. Like, he's not some cool, beautiful guy. Like, he's a fucking loser, and I mean that affectionately. Like, I could see a lot of myself. A lot of people saw that. Man, I don't know where I got Ki Kim then. I mean, you got part of it right. It is Karnbi Kim. Maybe Ki Kim is another author. Karnbi Kim. There was a time where I wanted to be teaching English as a second language in Korea. But I have a non-related, like blood-related family that is Korean that I care for a lot. My father is family to them. It's so weird seeing my art so polished like this. I just like it, honestly. I'm gonna adjust things. It's still kind of whack. Not really, no, I couldn't do that. I can barely speak English. I love studying linguistics. I'm not fluent in any other language because I originally took 3 years of French, and I did a lot of studying after that. And like, I still listen and watch French movies and television. But I'm definitely not fluent in it. In fact, I'm better at reading it than speaking it. I'm decent at Japanese. I'm not the greatest at it. I can only do very, very basic conversation, and I'm better at reading it than speaking it. That's for most of the cases. I studied Latin for a bit, but I never got far into it. Those kids aren't learning nothing. See, that's the thing is, I've wanted a lot of different jobs in my life, but being a teacher is something that I really wish I had the physical endurance for, because I am indeed a frail and weak person. My health is not the greatest, and kids spread illness like nothing else. So if you have a shit immune system, you shouldn't be a teacher. But I love kids immensely. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, not necessarily biological, but I love just being able to sit with them and hear about their days and help them with their studies. And one of the most important people in my life, Apomia, her little sister, I used to hang over at her place and help her with her homework and everything. And I like, that's the thing is, like, kids are our future. Taking care of them and helping them have a safe space and be heard and listened to is so immensely important. My biggest study was religion, mythology, and after that was psychology. Hell yeah. I love cultural anthropology, especially focused on religion. I think that that's like such a cool study. That was something that I got into a lot when I was 17 and 18 especially. I deep delved a lot into especially Hermetic alchemy, which takes so many different branches into so many different cultures, especially, you know, pagan and otherwise, and all the different inspirations. I love that sort of stuff. I was really curious of what sort of crossovers and origins all these different religions and belief systems had, so I loved religious anthropology is super, super interesting. Especially as somebody who is Anishinaabe, it's really cool studying, especially, I love studying the mythos and cultures of the indigenous people of East Asia, because a lot of even like Ainu beliefs that you can find reflect a lot of Anishinaabe belief systems, which are really cool. Now you're making me feel like a baby. You said 18 and 19 like it was years ago. Hee hee. I mean, I am 900 years old, canonically. I've never, anytime somebody guesses my age, I always just say yes to it. I'm giving you a warning now because I started doing that without letting anybody know. So there's a few people I've started to realize, I'm like, oh wait, they didn't know that I was just saying that. But I've never confirmed what age I am. Girl, I'm only 20, calm down. Hee. I have a lot of ghost townies are 20s and in school still. And I think that's awesome. Oh, nope, you're 40 now? I'm 40 years old. I think in my 40s would be interesting. Could you imagine, like, because I'm 900 years old, it'd be funny if my character was actually, like, 40 years old. So I have several different stories written in the 70s, so I definitely would prefer that. I mean, I would probably be very similar to even 900-year-old me. I'd still be watching Columbo. God, I love Columbo. And that's an ongoing, or actually no, it ended. It was going on for decades, and it's a kind of a murder mystery, but most of the times you see the murder in this little guy. I mean, your art reminds me of 30 to 40. Hee. Is it? Who knows? I mean, sometimes you see, like, fucking 12-year-olds who are all of a sudden just have the most incredible art you've ever seen in your life, and it's like, holy shit. Welcome in, Kid Catty Cat. Especially voice, I feel like you gotta be. Who knows? The secret. It's funny because like I even when I was in my 20s, I was never really, or like when I was in my when I was like 18 and 19 even, like it was very rare for me to be considered not an adult. But I feel like a lot of it goes into demeanor. It's something that, especially working with voice acting, a lot of it goes into demeanor and also movements. Also, you were a decent age to know what fortune was and talk about 2010s like that. I mean, okay. So, somebody born in 1995 turned 30 last year, meaning that they were 15 when 2010s happened. They turned 18 in 2013. So, technically, to be able to know what was going on in the 2010s, I mean, even middle schoolers, like if you're like 10 to 13, you can have like a decent understanding of, you know, culture and like influences. So that could mean that it could be, I'd say maybe, well, 2012, a lot of cultural things were still happening. I could say probably 2002 to 1995, there's still a chance. But it can still be older than that as well. I think that's probably the young branch based on what's going on. And again, I was 20, born in 2006, and know what fortune was. Age is an interesting thing. There's a lot of factors that can throw off guessing somebody's age, and one of the things too is if that person had older friends, right? If somebody had an older sibling or older cousins, or maybe they were the older cousin, but I mean, it can change a lot of how people know of culture, right? Because if you have like an older sister or brother who is 5 years older than you, but still like let you in on different things, that will change a lot of how you've experienced the world. What does my vest look like again? I think it just goes down like this. Sadly, my psychology is failing me right now. You're good at keeping your voice the same. I was talking about this, I think last stream, where when I'm drawing, I'm very monotone and melodic about it. And then it's funny when I play games because I get way higher. Like, fuck! Oh shit! And especially when I start rambling really fast because, I don't know. I need to get back more into gaming. I was thinking today about how I want to go back into playing Pillars of Eternity. And good responses to not really show up. Well, that's something too, is like my oldest friend I have is 60 years old. And so like, there's a reason why I'm able to keep conversation with people of all sorts of decades. And the woman I worked for was in her 80s, and I always made her feel at home and I could talk about all sorts of things. Like, she would always compare me to her uncle, who used to work as a caretaker of a building, and how much we have in common, and how I can sing songs even from the 1910s and 20s, and you know, all these things that even she, like her mother and uncle knew, but she never really knew. Good job, you're tricking an AP psych. There's so much that goes into it. I mean, I'm 900 years old. Born in the 1100s. Not an easy feat. Yeah. Born in the 1100s. An alternate variation of the Earth you know very well. Like, that's something too, is I can talk about, like, oh yeah, the shift into Western medicine and how we used to rely heavily on the four humors to do medicine and such, and how like phlegm and yellow phlegm and such is what they used to use. So they used to focus on balancing body fluids. And so it was a huge thing when it came down to head treatments and such. And that's one of the reasons why leeches were so commonplace, and, you know, old spittoons and such. In fact, the most recent A Song of Ice and Fire adaptation spin-off, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, there's actually like kind of a joke character that won't stop spitting into a bowl. Would love to be a vampire. Hell yeah. I love vampire media a lot. I think vampires are really cool. I myself am just a demon of sorts, but definitely not based on the Abrahamic beliefs, but instead more of where the term originated from, which is the Greek word daemon, which refers to spirits, where it was a bit more of deity spirits and more vague. Kind of like how you see ayakashi and yokai in Japanese beliefs and mythology. I'm starting to lose me trying to keep it simple. I'm like, what if I put a bent there? What if I bent fabric there? I think it's still simple enough. So the change to Western medicine from the four humors was actually due to a woman, a religious woman, named Hildegard von Bingen. You're summoning the Greek fangirl in me? Hell yeah. I love studying. Yeah, I used to study a lot of cultural anthropology, and I still do. I really love it. There's actually quite a bit of Greek lore within my own story because I am technically my main companion in my story and lore is a man by the name of Chrysos, meaning gold in Greek. And his lore and his story, he's like a snake demi-human, and it's very inspired off of Minoan Crete belief systems and the snake goddess they used to worship. And I love studying Minoan. I studied nearly all mythologies, but Greek will forever be my favorite. I remember when I first got into Greek, my sister was really, really into the Percy Jackson series when it first came out, like the first few books, and she used to be super obsessed with it, and she used to show me all these different things. She was an anthropology major and loved studying Greek stuff as well. I know I'm a basic bitch. That's the thing is, like, if people love, like, Greek mythology is something that people love for a reason, right? It's iconic. People who can talk about, you know, the Odysseus and like all these things, like it is so incredibly culturally relevant and will always be for a reason. Having love for something that is considered basic is fine. I mean, that's something that like there's a reason why people love these sort of things. At least you like the books. Thank God you didn't say she loved the movies. Nah, my sister was a big time reader, such as myself. My parents have always been collectors of books and various other things, but so we were always raised to have a large love of books and literature and also history as well. Especially being a Anishinaabe, I mean, when you are part of a culture that is actively always being, you know, dwindled down in numbers due to societal systems, it's important to know your culture. The movies killed the books. Nothing alike. Yeah. The books are very, very different. I made the vest too high up. This is where it should end my shirt. I don't remember much of Percy Jackson now, but she used to really love it a lot. I don't remember too much about Greek mythology. I remember really, really liking how they handled the underworld and all the little details about it. But I've always been that type of person where I'm like, ooh, underworld, necromancy, the undead, the dead, ghosts, spirits. I've always liked that sort of thing. But nowadays, I'm a lot more interested in a lot more Minoan mythos. We still don't know too much about it, but any anthropology and archaeology studies, you know, you can figure things out through context clues and symbolisms and looking at cultures related to the area that we have more written scriptures about. Greek, Norse, and Japanese are my higher up ones. Hell yeah. I think my main mythos slash, belief systems, because a lot of these were just pagan religions that were then later turned into or readapted by the Abrahamic religions and church to then recruit people and bring them in. My favorites, I think, definitely, I've always been really into Gaelic ones. Couldn't tell you any Norse name though. Yeah. I'm not good at remembering Norse names. I never got too much into Norse mythos. I know, I do believe they're the ones with the world tree, Yggdrasil. I'm trying to remember more about it. Were the Norse ones also the ones with like Loki and Thor and such? I'm trying to remember. I think that is Norse mythology. But I used to be really into studying, especially also Gaelic mythoses and such. That's something that I've always really wanted to learn, Gaelic properly. I tried learning a bit of Gaeilge when I was traveling through Scotland, and it helped a little bit, but oh my gosh. Sometimes you meet those old timers and you cannot understand a word that they're saying. Maybe one day I'll get better at it. How do you spell that? Gaelic? Gaelic. That's Irish. That's the Irish language, and then Gaeilge, Gaelige. And there's slight different pronunciation differences based on which area you're in and different spellings and such. But I love I have a very much a fondness in my heart for Gaelic. It's something that I like a lot. But I also I'm a very big fan, especially of traditional Irish music. So I know some of the pronunciations because one of my favorites is Oroshia da Huayra. Oroshia da Huayra. Oroshia da Huayra. Oroshia da Huayra. Arnishan Hatten Dowry. And there's a lot about Irish mythos that just makes there are some ways that they approach it that reminds me a lot of native belief systems to a certain extent. But a lot of it is where you find, Morgan and all sorts of cool people. There's a lot of, one of the games I've been playing, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, has a lot of inspiration from that. Though that Irish accent, though, that was good, so good. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is, if you... Well, one of the things that... Well, I do voice acting, so it helps. And I also love to play games and try and recreate people's voices. So there's slight things that when you slip into an Irish accent that doesn't happen. That happens to me sometimes too. Now I'm jealous of how you pronounce those. I mean, you can. Morgan. You just gotta practice and really listen. That's the thing is usually the best way to learn how to pronounce things in a different language or with an accent is to usually music. Music helps a lot. It's through listening to a lot of Irish music that I was able to figure out specific things, and even then, I can't do a lot of Irish accents. That little hiccup thing, I don't know what you call it. I don't know what it's called, but I can do it a little bit. That was a big problem, though, when I was over in Scotland. I cannot do a Scottish accent for the life of me, but I had this problem because I was traveling by myself, and I would only go out for breakfast. And then I would barely, I would talk to people, but I would oftentimes go hours and hours and hours without talking to anybody. And then I would start talking, but I wouldn't start talking like I'm speaking now. I would start in a lot more of a UK pronunciation. And I would have to flip into just sounding British for a little bit. And I'm fuck. So it was something that like several times, like when I would have to order things and have them shipped back to where I live in US, they're like, "You live in the US?" They're like, "Oh, did you go over for studying?" And I'm like, I'm living a lie right now. I can't be doing this. I was dying of embarrassment. It was so bad. It was so bad. But the main accent I know how to do, and that I slip into for like British accents, is learned because I used to watch a lot of Monty Python when I was younger, and I mean I still go back and rewatch it. But I also used to watch like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the not the movie, I dislike the movie, but the original BBC show, and the character Arthur Dent, he has this kind of posh British accent, and so I would sometimes stumble to that or something else. It's like, fuck. Oh god. So next time I go back to Scotland, I have to go with somebody because I cannot be fucking switching into an accent that is not my own. It's embarrassing and awful and horrendous. Yeah, that was bad. That was so bad. I would love to go back to Scotland. Next place I want to go is maybe Ireland. I want to go all over the world though. One of the places that I want to go for the longest time is Hong Kong because I have family there. I'm not Cantonese, but definitely 30s. Well, maybe not. Who knows? No, I'm not 100 years old. What do you mean 30s? But yeah, I would love to go to Hong Kong. But I've gotten a lot more allergies, especially as I get older. Problems with having immune problems. So it wouldn't be wise of me to go because there's so much in there that I probably couldn't eat. But yeah. Hopefully one day. My favorite director of movies is the Hong Kong director Bong Kar-wai, who's very, very, very critically famed. Average Monty watcher, no way, you ain't. And you called out that show You Gotta Be? Well, maybe, who knows? I'm 900 years old. I was born in 1102, then I died, I think, I'd have to look at the chart, but I think I died 1127? And then I reemerged as an evil creature, and I think 1412 is what the dates are. I'll have to check. I do not have the dates for my lore memorized at all. I'm adding way too many details. Fuck. That's the problem, is like my art style is usually all about those little details. And so now it's like, it's so funny, like I have not been looking at my inspirations at all. You can tell how awkward this is. Oh wait, you got a chart? Well, I got like a ref sheet. I got reference sheets. And I've got different documents for my lore and such. I need to make more references. I think the last thing I did was I made a reference sheet for the fan mascot. Add them details? Well, I'm working on an animation thing and it has to be somewhat simplified. Like, that's the thing is, like, one of the reasons I have these pulled up is to remind me of, like, for animation, it's better not to add too many details. That's, like, one of the biggest problems and also one of the biggest pains because I'm gonna have to animate and color everything myself, so I have to think about what a simplified design looks like. So it's like I have these pulled up so I can look at these specific details and think about it. Oh no, might lose you for a sec. No! Heyman is forcibly removed from the chat for only who knows why. Well, they said they were at work. I think I gotta round this shoulder out. Let's bring the vest up like this. That's the thing that's difficult about animation is oftentimes it doesn't necessarily look good on its own. Like, a lot of these details are usually shown best through animation. When at 1%, but I made it. Oh my god. Living dangerously. I'm always grateful to people who have like those huge ass batteries that they carry with you for charging your phone. Like, that's awesome. So many friends have saved me. I used to be the type of person that would carry it around, but now I don't really carry much around. Though I recently got a nicer satchel that I take around with me. Like, it's still small. It can be taken off of the straps and just applied to my belt. I wanted something that I could take to like Renaissance fairs and such that like fit in pretty well. So it's like a nice leather satchel, and I can just put on my Renaissance belt and it looks cool. But it still can't hold too much in it. Like wallet, keys, phone, drawing pad, like a pen. Glasses, cleaning cloth. Like the essentials. Don't have too many details. That's one of the things that I always respect people who have simplified art styles because I keep wanting to add in like so many details. And it actually makes it's way harder to draw simplified art styles because every single slight variation of the line will mess things up. It's one of the problems that you see with a lot of cartoons is you can tell when something is slightly off, so it's even more important to understand exactly all these really, really slight changes and curves within it. It's like, oh, too much. Okay. I don't like this. New one. I like these sticky notes and like little scribbles that Tetsuya Nishio did. I think I'll switch over to a sketching brush. Should probably get a battery, working 12-hour night shift in a factory. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a wise choice. Especially because you do keep yourself occupied by watching streams and such. I think getting a nice battery for charging your phone would just be great. Because like that's something too is it'll keep you safe. Like if you need an emergency. Then again, it ain't supposed to be on my phone anyway. Well, I mean, have you gotten in trouble for it yet? Probably not. If they really cared about it, you would have been caught by now, I feel. And hey, it's always nice having you hanging out when you're working. But could you imagine not being on your phone? Almost have? Dang, that sucks. Gotta play it safe. I don't have any nice sketching brushes on this. I usually do art on my laptop. But I use the same drawing tablet on both of them, but it never feels the same using the same exact brushes. Like, this is technically the one that I usually use for sketching, but it's different. My boss normally doesn't care as long as you're still doing your job. He don't care. Good. That's a good opinion to have. I mean, you're there to do your job, as long as it isn't getting in the way. Blend brush tips with darken. What does that do? Texture density. What if I put that up to 100? Oh, wait. Is that why it looked weird before? This might be it. But other bosses sometimes walk up. Ooh. That's stressful. What if you just want to be left alone? I don't know. I'd say that's the thing that I never get is like if the most important thing about your employees is they should just be doing what they're supposed to do, right? And if they're doing that, anything else should be fine, right? As long as they aren't damaging anything, as long as they aren't hurting anybody or anything, like, okay, they can be on their phone as long as they just meet what they're supposed to and do what they're supposed to. I think I'm tired of having to draw simplified, though. I'm still gonna keep it in mind, but I kind of just want to draw expressions. I used to practice expression sheets A lot. The issue is how badly something can happen even the first time. True. Man, I don't know if I'm ever gonna do animation. I want to do animation. I've done animation. I've never really done anything decent, but I would like to. I don't know why. I think it's one of those reasons that I feel like I have such a bigger dedication to my YouTube than anything else, and it's like, animation would be so nice to put up. My first accent, I nearly lost my arm first time something happened. Oh my fucking god. Holy shit. Yeah. I've heard absolute horror stories from people who have worked at warehouses and factories. That shit is no joke. Still on training. Oh god. I'm glad that you're all right. Damn. Losing an arm is something that you can find ways to live with, but ideally, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, Heyman. That must have been so fucking frightening. I'm glad that you're safe and okay. And hopefully you don't have to worry about that in the future. I didn't even think about what I was drawing. I don't know if you guys can tell if you ever look at my illustrations of myself. I love drawing myself with like these downturned eyes. It's like, oh yeah, I want to draw some expressions. Draws the same exact fucking one. I think it's because I'm still not fully happy with how I draw eyelashes and eyelids and such. And I think it's very interesting to think about like where somebody is looking, because you still have to make it so that they are, like, the whites of their eyes are shown, but it's just a very awkward sort of balance. I gotta make more background tracks for drawing. I'm trying to switch over to just using mostly like original music for it, because I mean, sometimes I would use like some copyrighted music that I'm like, nobody will care, but I would rather play it safe, because I do like uploading these onto YouTube's and they're a lot more strict with what music you play, and if it's all just done by me, that's fine. We had a dryer that works like elevator, and you would have to slide your hand in the gap. I was told to grab the thing out of the gap as I was putting my hand in. The chain snapped. So basically, imagine nearly putting your hand in an elevator door and the elevator just falls with your hand right there at the end. Oh my god. That's insane. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, Heyman. That's insane. That must have been so... That's literally a horror movie. Holy crap. Man. Ooh. Ooh. I've had a lot of dreams where I've lost a limb, and I'm somebody who dreams where, like, I have all of my senses intact, including pain. But I've never really had a close call in real life, and holy shit. Just finished cleaning my glasses. Started to realize that they were a little too fogged up. I was like, after reading your comment, I'm like, wait, I should make sure that I read that right. The words can be blurry sometimes, and you deserve to have every word read properly. Never snapped my hand away so quick. Didn't even see it fall, just heard a big slam, and then we removed the wall and saw it fell from the highest part. So I definitely wouldn't have a hand, because it's a pure metal drawer. Oh my fucking god, that's terrifying. That's so horrific. Alright, why is there a smear at the very front of my eye? Very blunt. Damn, fuck. I'm glad that you were able to pull out your arm in time. Somebody with slower instincts would have been screwed. Holy fuck. I am so happy that you're okay, though. And I'm genuinely so sorry that you had to go through that. Just because you came out unscathed does not mean that your mental state wasn't. Holy crap. A metal drawer snapping down. Fuck. Genuinely terrifying. Definitely can't freeze in this business. Yeah. That's something that I feel so bad for people whose instincts are literally just freezing up. In the worst, like you can't blame your instincts exactly for what they do, but I feel so bad for people that freeze up and then end up getting hurt, like a deer in the headlights. I'm glad that your instincts kicked in and kept you safe. Some serious shit. I'm gonna change the name of this stream now that I'm realizing I'm not doing specialized. Working on simplified designs. I'm just gonna write drawing. Maybe doodling. I'm always doodling. I've seen some things though. Ooh. Nightmare. Horrific things are happening around Heyman. Heyman's just like watching my stream, just like chilling out and like responding, and somebody's like getting their leg just torn off. I think probably the worst thing I've ever seen when it comes down to bodily harm to another person. I've seen people be killed in front of me, but that was not necessarily the worst because, I mean, it was just mostly like bullets or stab wounds, which isn't that bad. But I used to go to watch roller derby, and I don't know if you know what roller derby is, but it's a sport where it's a bunch of women on roller skates that whip each other around a ring and try and get ahead of the other team. And it's really fun to watch, but they always have an ambulance on hand because of how brutal it is as women are hip checking each other and trying to knock each other down. And there was a woman who fell and her shin bone and her like knee just like shot up out of it. So I gotta watch that. That was great. She was fine. She recovered fine. Obviously, there were some permanent damage done to her, but it's just part of the risk you take. I don't think I could ever do, like, I like practicing sword fighting, but I don't think I could ever do something like that. Some real fucking metal badass women in that sport, though. We have these rolls of film, and they weigh more than a car, and it fell off the hook and rolled right at a dude. He froze and barely dodged it. Holy fuck. I'm glad that he was able to dodge in time. That's the thing is, like, once you freeze up, oh my god. I'm glad that he was able to, oh, damn. That's some serious shit. It only takes one fuck up to have your life permanently changed. He was also new? Damn. Does he still work there, or was he like, no, fuck it, I'm not doing this job. I'm not doing this job. I'm not doing this job. That was too fucking close. That's probably what I would do. Actually, no, I'd probably stay. I do actually find it kind of fun to be put into life and death situations because it's like a quick time event. Which is like probably one of my worst traits I have is like, you know what? Let me put myself in harm's way and see if I can survive. To test the limits of my abilities. Those brows look way too clean. I was getting a root canal the other day because my tooth shattered and fucked up the roots. My fucking dental surgeon had the most beautiful, thick, like shaped brows. He was so fruity. It was so beautiful and funny. He stayed, but nearly didn't have an option. Nearly got fired. Ooh. Yeah. Well, I hope he's a good coworker to you if he's still around. Especially if your workplace is dangerous, it's really nice to have coworkers that are actually like, yeah, I'm glad that they're still on the team. Having people to watch your back is always a good thing. I think messy brows are cute. What is this expression? Really just to be drawing things. Difference was mine. I couldn't have affected just bad equipment, but he messed up and didn't hook it correctly. Oh. So you were just a pure victim, but he was a victim of his own self. Damn. Yeah, you can't mess around with that shit. One of my relatives that I sometimes go visit, he taps like maple sugar trees, and I'll sometimes go out and help him with it. He works as a safety inspector for the tribe I belong to. And so he was having a conversation with one of the times we were getting setbacks, and he's like, how do you make people understand the weight of like why you have to secure this shit and take care of this shit? And so like he's like, I try and show them footage, you know, show just how bad these accidents can get. But how do you get people to actually care about the specific details of doing this shit right? Because it's serious. And I just think that's really, I think it's really interesting hearing all the different workplace stories about people that, for like, this shit's so serious, and yet I think maybe a lack of self-preservation instincts, because like, when you can lose and hurt yourself in such a way, like, shouldn't that matter? Only way is a personal near-death experience, yeah, but sometimes you just don't get lucky. Or to see in person, yeah. People usually aren't affected by seeing footage as much as they do witnessing it firsthand. It would be nice, though, if people could take things seriously without having to almost die or seeing somebody almost die. But alas. Because of Reddit and made us immune to clips, yeah. That's the thing is, like, we live in a time where you can see so much extreme violence and bodily harm completely unfiltered, and most people struggle to internalize what they're seeing and properly understand what it means. Like, there's this distancing to what you are witnessing that leads to apathy. Working night shift forklift drifters fall asleep all the time, seen some bad crashes. Ooh. God, that's rough. I hope that you're able to stay safe, Heyman. I don't like how I'm doing this here on this side. I haven't seen much workplace incidents personally. Most of the violence I've seen or harm I've seen has been just due to, like, you know, classic living in a questionable town. Other than the dryer, though, I've been fine. Nice. That's what I love to hear. Your safety matters immensely. I mean, I may be the ghost town, but I'd rather you stick around, not in spirit, but in a well and healthy body. Though I suppose if anything were to happen, you are always welcome in the ghost town, even if not. I look so fucking sad. So upset. What am I thinking about? It don't look that sad though. It's like kind of looks like I'm thought about something slightly upsetting. Healthy is debatable. Okay. I hope you can be healthier soon. I feel like being healthy is such a struggle in this day and age. That's something that I'm always trying to make myself better though. My default is like always being like sickly and barely keeping it together, but it's always like something to strive for is better sleep and better eating and handling your own shit a lot better. Why are my lights flickering so much? I don't think we're low on power. I think they might just be dying. I work 12-hour night shift around chemicals. Nothing's healthy about that, true. I mean, as healthy as you can be around 12-hour night shift around chemicals. Damn. I hope you're at least being paid pretty decently. I feel like not enough workplaces have proper pay for the risk. Like, a job that I wish was paid a lot more for the risk is I have family that work as firefighters, and they're paid fucking garbage. They're, like, I feel like if you are working in a job where you have health risk, you should be paid a decent amount more. I kind of hate how wages are paid in general. $21.50, top pay is $29. $21.50 isn't too bad. It matters where you live too. Because in some places, like $20 an hour is like you barely can stay alive. But in some places that's like really, really good. I hope wherever you live that is really, really good. I think minimum wage in the US is still like $7. So some places, like, they just do not care if you're alive. But my hours are what's most important. Oh, true. I mean, 12-hour shifts, $21.50, that's really good. That's really, you're making a decent amount that way. Always feel bad for my friends who can't get enough hours in at a place and they have to get a second job or a third job. And it's like, what? I never really know how to draw my nose. I want to be like, I am an evil fish. So I do want it to be like rounder and a little bit like more snake-like, but I don't know. Get over 40 hours a week, yeah. Those are some good numbers. That's some good math right there. I'll kind of give myself slightly different hair. I mean, honestly, I usually don't draw my hair exactly the way that it is. I kind of have a... It's not fully, but there's a part of it that does remind me of like the beehive hairstyle that was common in the 80s and I think late 70s as well. And it's not like full beehive, but there is like a level to it that I don't usually draw. It's funny, I feel like usually I like draw my model and then I'm like, heh, what if I don't ever look at it again? And I go off of the vague idea of what I remember drawing. Sad thing though is, yeah, I'm making money, but I literally per year spend more time at work than home. Yeah. That is not the greatest. I mean, if you make a decent amount and you could get paid time off, I mean, at the very least, maybe you could pay for a nice vacation. If that's something you can afford. That's the thing is, like, for me, I usually try and have it so once a year I can decide to either get a tattoo or a nice trip. So sex for relationships? Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you want to have, like, a social life in that situation, oh my gosh. Damn. That does suck. I feel like so many people these days are struggling to properly meet people, whether it's just friends or if they want like a romantic relationship. And work is such a huge factor in that. Unless you meet somebody from like work, it can be very, very difficult. I hope that you're able to have decent relationships with people regardless of your hours, but yeah, that must be rough. So the only people I hang out with is a bunch of toxic men? No! God, that's so fucked up. That's heartbreaking. Decent wage and hours, but the payoff is having to work with toxic men. Fuck. That might actually be hell. I wouldn't be able to do that. My insane ass would be causing an accident on purpose at that point. There'd be one coworker that would piss me off a little too much, say something a little too out of line, and, oh, sorry. Staged accident. I'd be on a case of forensic files. Gotta remember, in the South, factory life, everyone is the same. Oh god, in the South. E. Well, hopefully, like, you can go save up some money and travel. I feel like that's the best way. I mean, you can meet a lot of people just through traveling. Like, if there's a place you want to ever visit, saving up and going there and meeting people through that, and then just messaging them when you can. And that's fun. Of course, there can be a lot of limiters on traveling too, though. If you have allergies or health problems or identity problems too. Like, one of my friends, she's always wanted to go to Italy, but she's trans, and they are quite homophobic, and she's not the most passing. So, unfortunately, it's a place that she can never go to. But if there are places that you can feel comfortable in and travel to, I feel like that'd be a good way to go about it. Or if there's like an event too. Like, I know some people like, if based on your interest, like I love Renaissance fairs and such. So going to a Renaissance fair or an event where you can talk to people and hang out. Listening to their political talk just makes me jump with that dryer. Oh my god, I would go crazy. I would go absolutely insane. That's something that, like, that's one of the reasons I like working for, like I talk about it. If I ever had to get a job again, like, proper job, I would probably just go back to being a live-in caretaker. But even then, like, even being around ignorant, old, wealthy white women that are watching the morning news and are absolutely out of touch with anything fucking happening in the world and hearing their takes, and it's like, oh god. But being in the South, here, oh no, I'd go crazy. I'd go berserk. I'm sure I ain't gotta explain what they believe in with politics. No, you don't. No, you don't. God. That's so fucked up. I am very blessed to live in an area where people are pretty, like, I've only been, like, harassed about what I am or who I am, like, in, like, like when you're traveling on the highway, they have the little like rest areas where you can use the bathroom and such. I got called a slur there, and I've been called a slur and discriminated against in some diners out kind of in the middle of nowhere, but in general, most places are really nice. And I try to debate them because I love debates where they just go too far, man. They're the most stubborn people ever. Yep. That's the thing is, like, there are some good people with good hearts that are on the right side of the political spectrum. I'm talking about right as in the direction. And the reason why they're good people, right, are because they grew up in a household, in a culture that, you know, promotes this sort of thing, right? They grew up going to church. They never had a reason to question it. They grew up watching Fox News and right-wing media and never needed to question it. But in general, you know, they help people out. They've never been presented with a situation. Do they vote in a way that causes concentration camps across the country to form? Yes, but they have never actually needed to challenge their ideas because of the culture they grew up in. At their core, though, they do care about people they do right? Those are people I can tolerate, right? But then you get those hateful son of a bitches that are way too excited to be throwing people into these fucking camps and are just waiting for a chance to pull out a gun on their side and shoot somebody dead. It's insane. Everyone is a white grown man who believes women stay at home while they work. No joke. I think one girl works here. Fuck. That's it. It makes no sense. And I feel so bad for her. Me too. That's the thing is, it's like... just saying Nightbot, just destroying these bots. That's the thing is, like... I hate the whole idea that women have to work at home. Girl, in this economy, nobody's able to just fucking stay at home. Nobody's able to stay at home. It makes, like... if... And also, women are so incredible and intellectual. You would think she's a toy in there. Ugh. I cannot fucking stand the objectification of women. It makes no sense. Can we fucking stop seeing women as property and objects and toys? It's disgusting, it's vile, and it's pathetic. Like, you need a life, you need hobbies, you need an actual thing. I've seen Merriman try to sleep with her. Gross. What the fuck? That's disgusting. That's vile. I'm nibbling on some bread right now. So if I'm like not drawing, that's why. That's so fucked up. I can't stand. Like, I'm somebody where I get a lot of confessions, especially from my female friends. And I've always been like, huh, I wonder why that's the case. But then I see how other, like, guys around them act, and it's like, okay, no, not surprising actually at all. It's not surprising at all because there's so many people that are like, oh, why the fuck can't I end up with a girl? And it's like, because you're the scum of the earth. Have you ever considered just treating people like people and not giving a fuck about what's in their pants and being obsessed about it? Like, I don't give a fuck about anybody's gender. And it's like, people who sexually harass and shit, oh god. Funny too, people when they talk to me never expect me to be in the place I am. I mean, I've had friends in the South. I've had friends working in factories of all kinds. You can find incredibly thoughtful, kind, incredible people in any place in the world. It's way too easy to be black and white about things. Yes, is the South notorious for racists and xenophobic people and a lot of ignorance? Yes. But there's also some incredible people. I mean, that's something too, is like there's still huge also people of color communities. I mean, when you are exposed to the violence and problems that happen, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I've known a lot of people who were born into Southern Christian households, and then once they become an adult, no longer were part of that because they were beaten by a belt in God's name several times, and it made no sense. Like, that's the thing is, like, it's way too easy to demonize or overgeneralize locations and places and be like, oh, factory workers, immediately assume a lack of intelligence or all these sort of things, but life is far too nuanced to generalize, right? Now, of course, you can hear factory workers in the South like you did, and I'm like, oh God, but that does not mean like you said, there's a girl who works there, you work there, right? Not everybody in these places are going to be like what's the overall image of them are like. That's part of it, And that's one of the problems with the demonizing all sorts of people. That's something that, like, a big problem I have with my own parents. Oh, welcome in, Mr. Jester. Well, here's the sucky thing, though. It feels like I can't live because of people like that. Like, honestly, because of how I was raised. I prefer talking to women, but it sucks because they think, oh, I'm trying to sleep with them. Oh, yeah. It's something that, like... I feel like as long as you don't hit on them too much, I mean, it's fine. I feel like usually you get trapped into that thing, though, because there's the whole idea of performative, like, males or people in general right now. And that has hurt a lot of genuinely, like, decent people, because, like, I don't know. Like, I don't blame women for being scared and intimidated, but it is something that, like, being able to be like, don't worry, you're safe, you're cool, we're cool. It's difficult. Like, how do you convey that? How do you let them know? Most of my friends are women. I love women a lot. And it's so heartbreaking just seeing the objectification of them and just the way they're treated. Like, I just can't stand it. People are people. And, like, I'm somebody that, like, I am indeed, like, bisexual, but I am purposefully, like, celibate, where I choose not to be in a relationship or seek out intimacy for a lot of reasons. And so it's something, too, that, like, it's very easy for me to say, but also, like, be like, people are way too hung up about sex and different things. Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. You're a deep thinker. Thank you, Mr. Jester. I spend a lot of time thinking and contemplating things because, I mean, that's part of life, There's so many beautiful things, and it's so easy to get caught in ways of thinking that hurt you, or have hurt others, too. And so you're always supposed to be improving and trying to work on things. I'm a light thinker. I don't give a single flying fuck about this stuff. You gotta think more, Mr. Jester. It'll help you a lot in the long run. If you want, certain futures, too, like if you want, certain types of friendships or a future in front of you, it really helps to think about how you treat others and the world around you. Sometimes being dumb and acting dumb makes you feel less stressed. Ignorance is a blessing is a phrasing for a reason. When you are awake to the horrors of reality, it can be very, very difficult. But something, too, is it also allows a depth of care that you don't get otherwise. And that's one of the reasons why I have so many relationships that I value and so many people care about me in such a way, because you can just, show that you care and really understand people in a large way. And I think that seeking understanding about others is such an important and beautiful thing. I'm trying so hard to get out of the South in general, especially my parents sucks. I still live with them and I work with my dad. I really, really hope you're able to get out of the South, Heyman. I mean, considering that you have the wages you're at right now, and if you live with your parents, if you don't have to pay rent or anything, you're currently 20, it seems like you're on board to get out of the South pretty soon. There's some nice places that you can move to that'll be nicer. Some places that are a bit more affordable as well. But, I mean, also deciding what you want in your future, too. What sort of job to line up. Moving states can be really, really stressful, and there's so much to consider, but I'm really, really rooting for you, Heyman. I just recently, last year, helped some of my friends move up and out of the South. They lived in Tennessee. At 20, what an age to be young. 20 is a really, it's a really good age because, you know, you're finally no longer, 18 and 19, you're still kind of a teenager in some way because you still have that teen. And then 20 is, you know, usually when you're starting to end towards college. Of course, if you start a year later, it can be a bit more like, I think, sophomore year. I definitely don't want to get me started. My parents, they're definitely making it hard. Oof. I wish they wouldn't. No. I wish they would allow you to move out. Do they want to keep you by the South? Are they the type of parents that are like affectionate where they're like, oh, you shouldn't leave? Or just judging you like, why would you want to leave the South? There's all this here. You can talk about your parents if you want. Poor old Jesse boy hit 30 last week. Oh my gosh, happy belated birthday! You're entering into the 30s. I hope that it's been treating you well, Mr. Jester. Everything hurts now. I mean, make sure to keep up with yourself, be kind to yourself, eating, stretches, exercise. It's always important to make sure to keep your body and maintain it the best you can. Grandparents regret not adopting me. My sister who ran away tried getting me out also. Damn! Oh, fuck. That is bad then. Holy shit. I'm so sorry, Eamon. I'm rooting for you, seriously. You're gonna get out of that situation. It's gonna be a lot better. You got this. I believe in you. There is such a beautiful and bright future in front of you. And you may be stuck with your parents for now, but I believe you're gonna be able to get out of there. And life is gonna be so much better to you. Kind of like having these little face swoops. I don't have that in real life. In real life, I mean in my normal design. If you know of Georgia stereotypes, then you know how that. Ooh, yeah. 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 I've known people from Georgia, and yeah, I'm always happy to hear when they can make it out of there. Georgia, fun fact, is one of the I think it is the state with the highest vehicle accidents. I like to watch various lawyers on YouTube, and one of them actually is in Georgia and was talking about one of the reasons why business is always going to be a thing for him is there's just so many motor vehicle accidents. I've driven through the South somewhat, and my God, I was not aware for how insane driving is, especially when I was driving throughout the Appalachian Mountains. Holy shit. Those highways in GSP, ooh. Good luck, Heyman. Five over is too slow. You gotta be going like 20 miles an hour. And that's the thing too, though, is like one of the problems with the South too is there's such a mix of like grannies going under the speed limit, and then there's people fucking racing each other on the highway, and it's way too packed for any of this to be happening. There's way too much traffic congestion. So it's just because you're doomed. You're going to get hit. There's only one option, even if you're driving perfectly, and it's to get hit in a lot of cases, unfortunately. That's the thing, is like speeding itself is not inherently bad if there isn't like many people around. But oh shit. GSP will destroy a car too. It will. My God. whenever I drive throughout Canada, especially like I like to go throughout kind of the more like North Ontario. I like to go visit. And there's barely anybody on those roads. And Ontario drivers love to speed really, really fast. But I can be going like 20 kilometers an hour, 30 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, and it's not really much of a problem because the roads are so long. Like if somebody's behind me, like we can go that fast. Like they want to go way fast, and that's fine. Right, but living right next to Atlanta too. Oh God, Atlanta. Like there's some cool. There's a lot of Atlanta culture that I love a lot. There's a lot of really good people in Atlanta and a lot of cool things in the scene. But with the traffic, with the accidents, with the road layouts, that's nightmarish. City planning, no God. Especially because so many people go to Atlanta. Like I know people in several different southern states that will drive into Georgia just to go to Atlanta. Oof. It's rough out there. The weirdest thing just happened. I was talking about how I was nibbling some bread, and I made some homemade bread. It's not like proper bread. It's like brown rice flour, eggs, olive oil, salt, and rosemary and thyme. And so it's like just a rosemary olive oil like kind of flatbread thing. And I said a weird thing where a random like a little stem of rosemary just like stabbed the top of my mouth and is now bleeding. And it's like I've never been stabbed by rosemary before. Weird. I've seen so many drive-by. Ugh. Yeah. This bread is really yummy, though. I'm nibbling a bit more on it. I realized I kind of want to make more variations of this bread so I can nibble on it on stream. Because I feel like whenever I stream, I always get a little hungry, but I hate, like, bringing, like, chips or, like, other things that are too loud. I love driving, but I don't want to ever have to drive through the South again. Stepsister's mom was shot 10 times and stabbed while working at Six Flags. Oh, I believe it. I also live in a place that's pretty heavy, especially when I was growing up in my hometown was really heavy with crime. And, oh my, that's one of the reasons why I actually went with Ghosttownmettie motif is I've had so many friends just be shot to death, and I still have so many peers where it's like, fuck. I don't understand how people within these environments can still be so for guns. They're like, well, I gotta keep it on me. And it's like, you're perpetuating the problem, please. Once again, circling back to how do you make people care? When I became of age, I immediately got a shotgun and I never got a knife. Oh my God, forgot a knife. That's so crazy to me. That's the thing is I've shot guns before. It's fun. But I couldn't carry it on me. I'm not against people who, carry, but it is like, I don't know. If it's not for hunting, I mean, but that's the thing though, is like, I feel like guns are such a coward's weapon. Like, can we go back to if you have beef with somebody, not just shooting up their house, but like, can you throw a glove at them and then do it like a sword fight? Because like, one, it's cooler. And two, like, you're on equal grounds and it actually requires skill. Because so many of these guns are automatics and stuff. Well, the issue is here around alignment. Also, you need one. I know, but it's like, always get. It's always sad though because it's like, there's more guns in the U.S. than there are people, and it's just sad. You know what I mean? Like, I wish this wasn't the case. The guy I have a bit of a crush on. I'm never gonna end up with him. He's from Georgia. He also carries. I don't have a problem with it, but at the same time, it's like, God damn it. It's funny though because I'll say shit like this, but then I like one of my favorite time periods that I love to study is I love especially not Wild West movies or like a lot of the media, but I do think the time period itself is really interesting, like historically, not the glorified white interpretations of it. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 did a really good job. And one of the things I love is those old revolvers. I think older guns, especially in the, like, I feel like 1920s to, like, 1700s is so fucking cool. So cool. I think there's so many beautiful ones and, like, designs and I think pistols are badass. I think that they can be really, really gorgeous. Also, one of my favorite animes is actually, Helsing. And his whole thing is he has a cool gun. Just a second. Had to hide my sneeze. Gotta mute for my sneeze. But also something too is like, whenever I've had the ability to like hunt, I prefer like bow or trap. Like, I don't want to support guns, but sadly I gotta have one around here. Yeah. That's the thing is, like, I'm never going to judge people negatively for having one, but it's like, god damn it. You know what I mean? And it's not about the person, it's just, what the fuck? We live in such a fucked up country. Had multiple people break in. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. If you have people who break in that can hurt you, yeah. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't live in, like, a city anymore. I live out in the middle of nowhere, kind of. And I like living tucked away in the woods, far away from people. Having to worry about your house getting marked and having people look in the windows and breaking in, it's like, no, actually, I don't want to have to fucking deal with that. Fuck you. That's why I immediately got a shotgun. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, shotgun for home defense, I think that's a really good choice. Because especially in close quarters, like, nobody's gonna fucking risk that shit. They see a shotgun, no matter, like, you're not gonna miss. you can't, really. Might as well be ducks coming in. Damn. Rough. It's rough out there. I've had so many friends die to guns, though. I don't think I could ever own one outside of... Well, I have technically 2 rifles in my room right now, but that's, like, ones I've inherited. I dare someone to walk through that door. It's something that I feel like so many, like, Americans naturally have to, like... we always end up having to daydream, like, what if somebody broke it? What if somebody did this? Because it's, like, a genuine, real risk. It's like, all right, if somebody did this, this is how I'm gonna counter it. I guess that's one of the reasons why I have my rifles around my house. Because, like, my basement's pretty wide open, so all I have to do is fucking pull that shit out and they aren't gonna try their luck. But when you live out in the country, it's kind of like, or like out in the woods, people just kind of assume that you're armed, so people don't try shit out here. Well, yes, the insanity that is America. I hope you can stay safe, both at work and also with people breaking in. Ideally, though, I hope that you can move out and escape the South. Georgia, there's some beautiful things about Georgia. There truly is. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why there's good, but I really, really hope you can get to somewhere where you can live better and enjoy yourself more. You deserve to feel safe. It's funny, like, I have actual art that I should probably be doing, but I'm like, actually, I just kind of want to doodle. But that's something that I've been really trying to avoid doing is like, oh yeah, I have to do this, because I feel like that kills art inspiration immediately. I'm gonna get burnout so fast and I'm like, hey, well, I should be working on my comic, and then I spend hours not being able to complete anything. I kind of like this variation of my hair. It's the little things that can change somebody's whole vibes, and my hair is a bit longer in the back, and it's not as, like, puffy, fluffy looking. It's cool. I love drawing hair textures. My hair in general is like wavy with a bit of, straight with like a bit of waviness to it. But it is fun to be able to draw all sorts of hair textures and such. I like thinking about it. I think a lot while I draw though. When I was once asked to do like a hair tutorial, somebody on Tumblr asked, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. But I literally had to start. I'm like, okay, so on somebody's head, they almost always have a hair whorl. And so it naturally always follows either clockwise or counterclockwise. And it's always like placed somewhere in the head. So first with a character, you should define where that is, because it will always have a certain pull to somebody's hair. Like for instance, with my own hair, I actually considered adding in a ref where it was to talk about my own hair whorl, but also how it affects, because my hair, even when it's shaved, is always wanting to go this way. So naturally, like my hair right here always wants to curve down like this. That's one of the reasons why my hair is like parted the way it is there's like a natural, past my widow's peak, especially my hair, even if it's short, wants to cover where it should slope up. Like it just naturally does that. The issue is the people, especially my parents, the trauma and everything, it's all been a lot for me. My sister and brother both are big gaslighters with that Christian attitude, and also just don't know how to raise a kid, especially don't know when punishment goes too far. Oh, God. Yeah, that... It's crazy how... I'm so sorry, Heyman. I was like trying to speak, but I'm like, there's so many points to mention, right? Because trauma, right? Having traumatized parents that have needed help and are not healthy and can't function properly, and then also due to their trauma can also cause all sorts of problems to occur, right? It's awful. It's an awful situation to be in. And then also big gaslighters with Christian attitude. Like, it's something that I think that there's some beautifulness to be found in Christianity, right? Like I was mentioning Hildegard von Bingen earlier, who's the mother of Western medicine, how she was able to change a lot of the bad medicinal habits into good ones. Like there's a lot of good things, you know. However, there is this problem with using religion as an excuse to your behaviors. And Christianity does really well in that, where, oh, well, if you go to church every week and you do certain things that your pastor tells you to, then, well, you're good. And so then there is this, oh, you are free from your guilt and actual mistakes because you go to church. Oh, because you do these specific things, but they never take real accountability for their actions, right? It is a way to excuse negative behaviors rather than actually working hard to change as a person, to all of a sudden feel like you're better than others because you fit these rules. A lot of them are actually not even true to a lot of the beliefs that are beautiful in Christianity. Like Jesus Christ genuinely was a good person who wanted to look out for others, right? Who cared about others. But a lot of times they dismiss those sort of things. And then, of course, there is problems with punishment. Most kids don't benefit from being punished and abused. Well, last time that my parents trusted me in church, I argued with the pastor. Yeah. That's the thing is, like, I studied a lot of biblical texts and Abrahamic religions in general because Christianity is one part of a huge, sister and brotherhood of religions. So it's something, like Islam and Judaism. And so I like studying all these things, and there's some really beautiful things. Like one of my grandfathers was Catholic, right? And even when he died, he was very, very Catholic. But also he was a victim to the church in so many ways. And then there's some beautiful things. Like, I love the saints. I love so many of the imagery and stories behind these things, and a lot of, but damn, like, the pastors will just pick and choose what they want, and most of the time it's just hate-filled. I'm sad today. Oh no, what's up, Mr. Jester? Because one of the legends ripped today, Rip 9 anime, you'll be missed. 9 anime? A person or a... Sounds like a website. I will never join Crunchyroll. Ah, probably a pirating site. Yeah, there are some other options you can choose. Not that I will talk about it. It was one of the biggest anime sites. I see. There's some other piracy sites that you can find. Not that I can talk about it necessarily. Crunchyroll is something that I actually don't recommend people get. I mean, morally and ethically, the people who own Crunchyroll are also helping support a lot of really fucked up things. So in general, like, paying for Crunchyroll isn't something that I really recommend. Most of the 90s animes, you can see if they have disc sets of any of the animes that are a bit more popular. There's other piracy sites that do have other 90s animes. I love old style animes too. One of my favorites. I love older animes a lot. Like, I love, like, Lupin the Third. I love Detective Conan. I love, what else? I love Yu Yu Hakusho and such. So there are options out there, and I hope you're able to find one that can make up for it. But also supporting by buying the anime and can help too, right? Like, if you like a series, you can buy disc sets and such. And there's communities of people who are still trying to preserve it. Oh my gosh, thank you, Heyman, for gifting Mr. Jester. That is so kind of you. I'm always happy to see gifted subs. I don't know what I'm drawing right now. I don't know what shirt I want to give myself. I don't want it to be what I'm wearing right now. I love older animation. But I've always been really interested in what went into animation, especially 90s animation before. You still have so many of those classic ways of handling it where they just like the way that happens was they would do, like, the initial sketches as they went on, like, paper and such, and they would be on, like, light boxes, so they would have light shining up, that way they could see what the art drawing they did before was, so they would draw the frames for it. And then they would often take panels, like transparent panels, and then they would do the coloring. They would paint each frame individually, including the backgrounds. And so they would do all these little tips and tricks. God, sometimes I do type like a southern LOL. I also omit my G's a lot. I think it's cute. A little bit of southernness is awesome. There's a lot of cool accents. There's a lot of beautiful parts of southern cultures. So much variation, so many cool things. Every culture has its bullshit as well. There's good and there's bad. shoulders low rounded. But I love studying old animation. That's something that I used to love watching documentaries where they go into how they used to do it all. Oh my gosh, I love it. I've always been like somebody where I knew I was going to be more of a comic writer from the very get-go, but oh my gosh, I love animation. But there's a charm to older animations too, as you like, there's a specific light effect you see in older animes that you don't see nowadays because you can't do it. I love old dark anime, hell yeah. Vampire D, Hunter D. Hellsing 2003 is a good one. Berserk 1997 is one that I also really like. But that's the thing, is like early 2000s also had more traditional styles. Angel's Egg, Perfect Blue. I love anime. That's the thing, is I'm not that big of a fan of a lot of modern anime per se, but that's not necessarily because it's modern, but Angel was good, yeah. One of my friends, she was really into the older Gundams, so I watched a little bit of it. One of my friends that I talk with sometimes, I see him every once in a while. He's an old anime head, where he like before there was like proper like English releases of anything, he used to, back in the 90s and 80s, he would get like, there was like a mailing list that they had where they would like mail it to each other, like these VHSs of animes, and then they would have like, they would also mail like the dialogue and have it like time-stamped written on the paper. And it's always really fun talking to him about older anime. I never experienced that part of it, but I've been mostly reading. I'm definitely more of a manga reader than anime watcher, but I love. But I started getting to a point where I'm like, I kind of just want to be time efficient. Not the VHS. I don't know why the arm is like that. I don't know what I'm trying to do with this pose. I look tired. I kind of wanted to be where I'm like leaning on a desk. It's kind of fun to go in not knowing what you're gonna draw and then you just start drawing. I just have this over here just for inspiration, I guess. It's funny. I talk a lot about the anime Portrait de la Petite Cosette, and it's been really. I mean, I literally have it on my desk right now. I was rewatching it the other day. It's fucked up, but it really lives in my brain. And it's funny because it was one of the first animes that I really liked, or like really got me into anime in the first place. And Tetsuya Nishio also did that. Ain't no way that was a language? Le Portrait de la Petite Cosette? That's French. That's French. The title in Japanese is also, in English, is also just in French. The original thing was in French. Which is funny because it's about well, the English title, if I were to translate it out of French, is The Portrait of Small Cosette. But even the French on it is kind of busted. Like, what I said is like what it's called in Japanese, but me saying it more French. Because in Japanese, it's like Reportorato de ra patito. I went too Spanish with that. I gotta actually look at the katakana. Well, I was right that it was French. It's interesting hearing your accent. At first I did it a lot more like Americanized, but I'm like, I don't know. Les portraits de la petite Cosette. My French can move around a lot. Sometimes it's like, wow, that's good. And then sometimes it's like, what the fuck? And the reason why my French can sound so different is because I have a lot of different influences for French, where like I have some Quebecois, and Quebecois is insane. And then I also have, so like, I was raised by people partially that spoke Savoie, Français, Savoir Français, and that is weird, right? Because the Savoie region of France, it doesn't want to be France. It was kind of its own place and kingdom for the longest time. It was the kingdom of Burgundy and Savoie. Like there's a lot of like, you know, its own culture, and it's kind of a lot more towards like Luxembourg in Italy, and you know, more towards Germany. Like it's very East French. But it's like kind of weird. So I have that influence, right? So I have Savoie. I have a lot of Savoie influence from when I was younger, but now I don't really have that anymore. And then I have some Quebecois influence because I've gone to Quebec several times. I love going to Quebec. But Quebec is like the most whack-ass thing. And then I know like Parisian French because I've like gone to Paris. Oh wait, Automod, it got Apollo. I'ma bite you. You've been streaming when I'm asleep. I'm sorry. This is when I'm awake. I also think my headphones don't like French. Hayman's headphones are like, fuck you. It's so funny, Apollo getting held by Automod just for saying that I was gonna get bitten. I mean, this is when I'm awake. I live in like EST, right? So like the eastern part of North America. And so like I stream usually when I'm awake, which is like 1 a.m. for me. Right now it's 6 a.m. Originally, back when I started streaming more consistently, like last year, I don't remember when I was streaming consistently. I've had so many hiatuses. My original streaming time was 10 p.m. Did it hold me for sexual or violence? I think violence. Yeah, it saw bite and it was like, oof. Yeah, you're not allowed to threaten to bite, Mettie. Nah, wait, you're Eastern? Nah, now I gotta hate you. Most people live in the EST. I never said I was East Coast. I'm just within the Eastern. EST. So, like, it goes from all the way... What's the most east? I was gonna say... Because it can go from, like, Quebec, right? To Ontario in Canada. And then... I'm trying to think. In the US... Parts of Mexico are also in EST. Parts of Central America as well. And then... The cutoff is, like, Wisconsin, Illinois... What's next to Indiana? East Coast? No. No. I'm at East Coast. Yeah, I could... That's the thing is, I have friends on the East Coast, but so many of those states have huge HOAs. They don't get along with the South. Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like I was saying earlier, it's easy to generalize, but it's not actually as black and white, you know? Because, like, I've heard Southerners hear a lot of bad shit about the North, like, oh my god, they're so rude, they're so mean, but I've had, you know, like, I had 2 friends from Tennessee move up and to, like, the state that I'm in right now, and they're like, we heard so much bad shit about this place, everybody is really nice, what the hell? And that's just, everybody around me is just really nice. I mean, some people are fucked up, that's every place, but that's the thing, is like, it's so easy to generalize, but that doesn't, you know, every place has good people. And that's the thing too, is East Coast is full of different states. Somebody from Maryland is gonna be different from somebody from Maine or Vermont, you know? Like, they're very different. And, you know, just like how there's some, like, it's so easy to generalize with, like, the South is so many different states and so many different cultures. Like, Georgia is very different from Tennessee, which is very different from Kentucky, which is very different from Texas, which is very different from Louisiana. You know, like, everything has its own different people and cultures, and Nah, but I'm not East Coast, East Coast. I'm very much, I literally got Culver's the other day. I am not East Coast. But I've known people on the East Coast and it's cool. Pretty much there's nowhere somebody will be from where I will judge them negatively. You gotta remember the general belief that the South is very different from the North. Yeah. Most Southerners are really nice, but a lot of idiots that give them bad rep. Like, that's the thing is, like, I've met some really, really nice people in the South. And also, like, there's some really, really cool cultures. Like, I have friends who have lived in Louisiana, and I've met so many incredible people. And so, and I've met people from Tennessee who are the sweetest people in the world, I've met people in Georgia who are so incredibly talented and brilliant. Like, that's the thing is, like, no matter what, like, there's some really good people. Just like how in northern states, there's some real fucking ignorant asshole, son of a bitch, dumbasses. Like, that's the thing is, like, yes, is there a majority of people who do indeed vote against my rights a bit more in the South? Yes, but also, there is such a thing as gerrymandering. People compare me to more North-like. Yeah. I know a lot of people in a ton of places. Because something too is like, there are a ton of people of color communities in the South still. And, they deserve to be recognized as well. A ton of queer people as well. I need to go. I need to get ready for the day. All right, good luck, Apollo. Also, I'm sorry I've been streaming while you're asleep. But unfortunately, I am a nocturnal entity. And that just so happens to be that you are usually asleep during said time. I look so fucking sad, dude. Actually, I'm not gonna finish this. I was gonna make it as a full illustration now. I want to move on to another expression. There was a time where I was streaming a lot more, like hours and hours before this. Watching North people curse around family is insane. I used to, when I was really young, I avoid cursing, but one time when I was really little, me and my friends were like doing this like competition thing, and we didn't end up winning, and it was so rigged. It was so rigged. And it was crazy. It turns out later on it would be showed that like this kid's event was incredibly rigged and that they were really biased because like the school I went to used to be a all colored school. So like we had more people of color in the school and there was only like one white person in each grade pretty much because it never really moved past secretary times. And so we lost the competition and it was so clearly due to rigging because like it was so fucked up. And so I was like, to my mom, I'm like, do you mind if I curse? And she thought it was so funny because she's like, all of a sudden, my kid just turned into a little cursing sailor. And then from that point on, I just never held back. In fact, I always had teachers that are like, Mettie, you are very respectful and you pay attention. So I want to cut you some slack on this, but I gotta say, please try not to curse so much. But I'm a very foul mouth. I'm a big curse dude, but that's a big no-no in my family. I think that's stupid. I think that cursing is fine. I think it is really weird that people are hung up on, oh, don't say this. Because there's like some words like you shouldn't say, right? Like using slurs, using derogatory language, using language that is rude about others is something that is not great. But if I stub my toe, I'm gonna yell fuck. There is no way in the 9 hells I'm not going to yell it. But I think I like it's so built into it. Counts on what and how you say it. Exactly. And that's something too, is like I have it so interwoven in my language that some people don't even realize I'm cursing too. Because that's the thing is like, Language is all about tempo and rhythm and melody, and sometimes what I want to say feels better when I throw in a curse or two. Saying damn or hell. My mom pissed me off so bad I said fuck one time around her. Oh boy, was that fun. Damn. See, that's the thing is, like, I think that saying a curse, it does not matter. Beating your kid is fucking... No. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, how is that worse? How... Like, you really... Like... the back-ass logic of it all, right? The backwards fucking logic. How does that make any sense? I don't fuck around with people who fucking hate kids, though. Kids are literally our future, our responsibility, and their safety should be our top one fucking priority. You don't... I can't stand it. Recently, I about actually fought my dad. I believe it. That's the thing. I could never live in a Christian Southern household for long. I'd go to blows so quick. I've gotten to a lot of verbal fights with my father, but he's like, my father is like a pacifist and like a scholar type. Like he's very well educated and very like, he's a very androgynous man. Like I very much inherited a lot of my androgynous features from him in some ways, because like, so he's not really somebody I could get into a fight with, but oh my god. I have a very strained relationship with everybody in my family, but luckily he's not somebody I could get into a fight with, because I've always been a lot more. I used to suffer from anger issues. Like I used to always beat up kids growing up. I used to be a delinquent who would skip school. I dropped out of high school. I was always strong-handed. Always like doing shit like that, so probably for the best I didn't have a dad that would ever do anything like that, because I would not have held back. But that is not always the best situation to put yourself in. Now I pretty much live by the rule, if you can avoid hurting another person or creature, please do that. There's enough harm in the world. But there also is a line too, right? Maybe one of these times I will actually rig my model so you can see that I do actually technically have a sclera. Because my eyes are pretty much almost entirely just clouded, but there is like a black sclera. Kind of like how with cats, you can't really see that they have a sclera until they really look to the side. This is really looking to the side. For the longest time, I didn't really know how to draw my design. No, I'm really starting to get it. I might do some changes a bit down the line, but I really like the model I'm using right now. Oh, I need more tea. I'm almost out. I've been wanting to get another teapot. I want a big teapot. I have like one big teapot that I was given as a gift, but I want another one. I really want to get a huge sort of tea cabinet just for keeping like all the different teacups and tea equipment I have. My parents were screaming at each other, and it was while I was sleeping, and I'm used to them screaming all the time, so I just ignored it for like 40 minutes, but I worked on a 12-hour shift. After an hour, I slammed my door open, stomped upstairs, and just started yelling. I was so pissed off, I dared my dad to say anything back. That was the one time he actually backed down. I am proud of you. There is nothing more, there is not a more irritable state than when you are trying to sleep and people are not fucking being, yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you could shut that shit down. I hope that you're able to get some good sleep afterwards too. But hearing people yelling while you're trying to sleep, that shit always sucks. That is the one time I would have swung on him. The first time I ever hit my father was when I used to suffer from like extreme insomnia, and I had like school, and it was hell because just like how I'm a nocturnal right now, my father has always been the same, and I'm like, hey, can you stop slamming cupboards and shit while I'm trying to sleep? Because I had like slept an hour the night before, and before that, none at all, and I'm just trying to sleep. The sun was about to rise, and I hadn't gotten any, and I was just on my breaking point. So I punched him straight in the jaw, but that didn't help at all. He just started crying, and then I felt like shit. Sleep is the one time where like humans get sleep. Well, it's base brain, right? At the core of your brain, there are things that humans will naturally prioritize, and sleep is no joking matter. It is such an essential part of the brain, and just being alive. And then it's food. Like, you see people get hangry for a reason, because it is, like, food security is a big part of it. So if somebody doesn't have food at home, if somebody is hungry and haven't eaten for a while, it can cause irritability. And then, of course, there is, like, shelter as well, and environmental conditions, too, can make it irritable, because it does cause that. The annoying thing is, they forced me to be as quiet as possible at night to not wake them, but then they didn't show me the same respect, so I lost it. Yep. You have every right to go berserk. That's one of the worst things about living with parents that probably shouldn't have been parents, is when they're like, well, I have to do this, and then they do not give a fuck about you. Like, they are not willing to get rid of any way that they decide to live, but then they expect you to treat them way better. Ugh. I hope you can stop living with your parents soon. Nightmarish. Living with my own parents. Ugh. Nightmare. Like, you think that they would, like, be conscious of, like, oh yeah. No. That's like a huge thing, is like, do as you would like to be treated, right? But all of a sudden, it doesn't matter when it is inconvenient. I hope that once you get off shift today, Heyman, you're able to get a good sleep, and they can be quiet and considerate for once. You deserve a nice, good rest. My mom was so scared of me then, so she said sorry, but my dad just stayed quiet. Ah, yes. I don't know why dads are so usually allergic to saying sorry or giving apologies. Like, I'm glad that your mom apologized to you, though. That's one of my main things, is, like, it's a big thing for me, is if I'm friends with somebody and they don't know how to apologize, or aren't people who apologize, absolutely not. That's the first time she ever said sorry. Ooh. Well, I mean, better a first time than never. I'm glad that you were able to finally get an apology out of her, though. Must have felt nice in some way. It always sucks, though, when you have, like, one of those moments, and then you, like, talk to them again. They're like, oh, but that never happened. Oh, but I never did that. Oh, but you just aren't seeing it from my perspective. Ugh. The nightmare. Nah, the guilt trip afterwards, literally. Ugh. That's something that I'm like, with my own mother, there's always like a... She's the type of person that will like have emotional explosions and then say shit and then be like, no, but I never said that. Oh, but I love you. Oh, but I care about you type. And then, or be like, well, you're the one who made me feel this way. And it's like, okay, you realize that you just proved that you have like years and years of resentment towards me and are insane. And they're like, no, but I never said that. No, she doesn't scare me anymore, so she tries to guilt trip and gaslight. Oh, you wouldn't know what it would be like having to mother a child like you. I've heard that a lot. I feel like a good 90% of parents probably should not have been parents, unfortunately. Guilt trip, gaslight. Refuse to take accountability for anything. Ugh. Worldwide, too. I feel so bad for people who can't move away from their parents. Because rent is expensive, moving is expensive. There's so many factors that go into it that, just, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's just unrealistic. Now, that never happened, my favorite. Oh my god. And then you have to wonder, is their memory that bad? Or are they just blacking out everything that they dislike? And sometimes that is the case. My father doesn't remember years and years of what he was actually like. And it's like, and I literally had to call my sister one of the times because I felt like I was going crazy. I was like, this happened, right? And she was like, yeah. No, like, we had that discussion, and she like, oh, it was so good because she recounted everything exactly how I had mentioned it, and I had not talked to her before about this. Like, she lives in... And it was like, okay, good, I'm not crazy. I'm with just insane people. Yeah. OMG, I do the same. And it's like... And then they think I'm crazy. Because they're like, no, that never happened, though. You're just remembering things wrong. And it's like, no, it did. And then I bring up the receipts, and they're like, that person's also crazy. Or they'll just shift subjects and like try and like be like, well, you just wouldn't get it. Oh, but you must have just been remembering things wrong because I would never have that opinion, or I would have never done that. Oh my god. That's the thing is, like, I care a lot about kids because so many people are, like, pretty much every person is a victim when they were a child of something or another. And it's like, you know, we don't need to make fucking... Kids, existing on this planet sucks. There's so much beauty in it, but being human intrinsically just sucks. So it's like trying to protect youth and care about them and let them have safe space and let them be able to have refuges away from the bullshit that's usually going on at home is so important. That's one of the reasons I really wanted to be a teacher. That's something is like, I don't think I could ever have a biological kid because it's I would always have guilt for bringing a child into this world, especially as things keep getting monumentally worse. But I would actually like to potentially adopt or foster at some point, just because if I can afford to, because like if I can let them be away from the bullshit and let them be safe and just not be punished for being a kid, please. Let them have a space where they can sleep and I can just accommodate, you know, whatever they need. I still remember before we knew I had a tumor in my leg, I couldn't walk correctly at night. They would spend hours making me walk back and forth, screaming at me, saying, why couldn't you walk correctly back in the middle? Oh my god! What sort of six? Oh my god, Heyman, I'm so sorry. That's so fucked up. With a tumor in your leg. So many parents do not have it in them to give a shit about their kids. Oh. Poor baby Heyman. And my mom swears that didn't happen, even though me and my sister remember that. See, that's the thing is, like, they always forget the most fucked up things they did to you. They're like, oh no, I would have never done that. Or when they backtrack and they're like, oh no, I saw the signs that you had this problem, so I wouldn't have done that. And it's like, no, the fuck you didn't. You acted like it wasn't real. You didn't believe when I had this problem, and then it was real. Oh my god. Ugh. God, I can't even imagine making a poor fucking kid, an elementary schooler too. You were so little, and you had a tumor in your leg. See, I'm so, like, if any of my nieces or nephews, I'm seeing any difficulty in them walking, I'm like, all right, what happens? Are you bruised anywhere? Do you need anything? Oh my gee, they say I'm lying because I didn't have the tumor for that long. Oh my god. That is so unbelievably fucked. How could you do that to your baby? You know, like, that's your, like, it's, like, theoretically, right? Theoretically, based on what sort of propaganda they spew, right? You get married to somebody you love. You find somebody you love, you settle down, you have kids, right? And then you look after them and you protect them and you help them become fully fledged, nice adults, right? In what fucking world does being a fucking bitch to your kid fit into that, right? How? That's so fucked up. How could you do that? Like, poor baby. I don't know how people can treat kids like that. I don't even fucking, like, that's supposed to be that's your baby. That's the sweet child you brought into the world that theoretically you brought into the world with somebody you love. Like, oh. But me and my sister remember me having difficulty for years with walking because the tumor was hitting my nerves in my knee, and that caused me to lose all strength in my leg and would cause me to stomp with my left leg. How could you look past that? Your parents must be out of their goddamn minds to overlook that. That's not like a small thing. Damn. Your parents did not deserve you, Heyman. I can't even imagine. If any of my nieces or nephews were having that problem, I would immediately be able to clock it. Like, that's not a small, like, oh, you're having a walking difficulty. And I still catch that, right? Like, you just see something so often, like, oh, did you bruise yourself? Like, are you okay? Do you want me to carry you for a bit? Like, should you be putting pressure on that? You know what I mean? Like, any person in their right mind would be like, oh no. But that's, like, just serious. That's not something that you just brush off and don't take, oh. I get it. I'm somebody who's struggles and has struggled for years now with, like, blacking out and, like, passing out. It's due to having a FND, functional neurological disorder. And my parents to this day don't believe it, even though they've seen me black out and pass out several times in front of it. And there's been times where my sister has been screaming and calling for them because I just all of a sudden hit the floor really hard. And it's like, how the fuck like, you've witnessed this firsthand. How could you be doubting this? That's insane. Your mom still calls you a school shooter. That's so fucked up. Why the fuck would... That's so unbelievably rude. That is so incredibly fucked up. I'm so sorry. We need you out of there so bad. I really, really hope you're able to save up and get out of that house soon. Because of a rumor that was never true, and I tell her it wasn't. Oh my god. That's so fucked up. Yeah, I seriously hope you're able to get out there, Heyman. Sooner than later, sooner than later. I believe it. Kind of doing like almost the same mouth this time. I need to do something different. I kind of like just doing that sort of M mouth a lot. Maybe a wide smile. I'm just pissed that she tells my family that. So she tells your family that? So then I have to explain the truth because I do love some of my family and I don't want them to hate me? Why the hell would you make that make sense? Because it doesn't. That's crazy. Holy shit. Why would you? I can't even imagine. Like, for what reason would you mention that? There's no good one. Like, there's not such a thing as a good reason to ever mention that. And especially spit around like it's the truth. Like, what? Damn, that's so brutal. She realized I was a threat to her reputation. Well, but the, God, that's so fucked up. Because I don't hold back. I wish people could just value their kids. Just actually value other humans. Care about other humans. And not be actively harmful. That's one of the things that I don't really get is one of the, like, big beliefs of Christianity that I think should be followed more often is thou shalt not harm, right? Like, what happened to that, huh? So to save it, she tells lies so I look like a horrible person and not her. Boy, do I know that feeling. That's something that, like, a lot of times I had to just stop interacting with people that my mother interacted with because she would, like, always want to paint herself as some horrible victim to me and how, because of my illness, she's always having to do so much for me. And it's like, no, that's not true. In, like, so many years, she never took me to any of my appointments or cared. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like, now she's painting me out to be some horrible person and saying, like, I was such a parasite to her. And it's like, okay. But I think a lot of it does indeed stem from, like, just like you, I call out people's bullshit. And if people ask about the truth, I'm going to tell somebody, right? Because she knows I'll definitely tell everyone the truth about her. Same thing with my sister. Yeah. I can't stand people who are so egotistical and vain. Like, that's the thing is, like, if I genuinely fuck up, it's okay to let people know, right? I think that's fine. But you don't sabotage people that you care about for that sake. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's so petty. Then again, if she didn't want me, maybe don't run away, get pregnant at a random college that caused her to be a single mom. Yeah. That's the thing is, a lot of people who don't want kids will have them and then hold resentment towards them And it's like, you had a choice. My actual dad left before I was born? Damn. That's rough. I was planned, but my parents are not good at making it feel that way. But whatever. He said choose him or the kid. Ooh. That's insane. Brother, you were stupid enough not to use protection. I know nothing else about him. Oh my god. I literally, in this day and age, if you aren't using protection, you are just an imbecile. You have to be so unbelievably dumb to not be using protection. Especially if you don't want a kid. Like, you have to be, oh. As something is that I've been watching and keeping an eye out for different things, and one of the horrific things about modern times is a lot of STDs like syphilis is now mutating and getting worse and harder to treat with medication. So like, please, seriously, anybody who's sexually active, please, before you have sex with anyone, please actually get tested for STDs, both you and them. Like, that's not, people are like, oh, that kills the mood. No, be safe. That shit is so dangerous. This is so for real. You can go blind. And like, yes, and like, use safety too, because like, it can help protect you from that if you are careless, but then also like, kids are a big fucking thing, dude. I would like to know more, but my mom refuses to give a name to anyone, and even her parents don't know him because she ran away and then suddenly came back pregnant. Okay, that's fucked up. Every parent deserves to know who their parents are. This is a big problem I have in general. If you have a parent, right, that you don't know of, or parents you don't know of, or family you don't know of, let kids have access to it. One of the kids I grew up with, or two of the kids I grew up with, I should say, because it was him and his sister, they were adopted from Kazakhstan, and they never got to know what their family was or who their family was, and they had like a white mother who never really allowed them to be in touch with their culture or know who they were. And don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. No matter what, like, you should be allowed to know your lineage, your ancestry, and gets like, it's so fucked up to not let people know what their full context of their life is. It causes so much emotional damage and scars and questioning. It's not worth it. It's never worth it to hide that shit. Not trying to get along with him, but still, I would like to know what is me and what's him. Literally. That's the thing is, like, one of my closest friends / love of my life, Epomia, both her and her sisters are all born to different dads, and the youngest doesn't know who her dad is, and there's like a huge list that the mom wrote up and then never showed her, and just there's so many layers to seeing this poor girl without knowing who her dad is, that just seeing how much it has fucked her up as years goes by, it's bad. And it's like, it's not even necessarily needing a father figure in your life per se, it's just not knowing sucks. Because you're always gonna wonder, who the fuck, there's half of you out there that's walking around, who is that? Who, like, it's something that's always gonna haunt you and can cause all sorts of problems. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And it sounds like, based on the story you do know, it doesn't seem like it's something where you could, like, be like, hey, I'm looking for my dad. If you had a kid, if you know, had relations with my mother, list name, you know, like, people can do it that way. But, like, if it doesn't sound like he's somebody who would want to be found per se, so that would make it even harder to track him down. And then I'm sure your mother would be pissed about it too, and she'd probably find out because her name would have to be included. Ugh. Nightmare. truly a nightmare. I need more tea. I have a root beer next to me, but I don't know if I want to drink a root beer. I usually try to avoid drinking soda, but I've recently been craving root beer. So, the curse. Sorry, I'm probably ranting too much. No, it's fine. That's the thing is, like, you probably need to talk about it. You know, I've been through a lot with my own parents and my own upbringing. And especially when you're still stuck in that situation, every day you have to face these people, you kind of need to vent and release a lot of it. So I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I like hearing what's going on with people's lives too. I have like the rule of like, oh, try not to vent too much. Like, you know, ideally a therapist is best, and I still stand by that, right? But I don't mind. I don't mind it at all. I'm just an extremely open person. This is the thing is like I like hearing what's going on with people. I'm the type of person who goes to the grocery stores and has people open up to them about all their life problems, and I'm like, oh my god. And I care. I'm somebody where it's built into me to care about others, so I'm never gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, sorry, we don't talk about that there. And sometimes I will. Sometimes I will be like, hey, let's not talk about it, right? But most of the time I'm very open to it. Because, I mean, allowing people to talk about these frustrations can cause their day to be a bit better, or cause them to be able to face things a bit more, you know. And at the core of it, I want the ghost town to be a place where people feel cared about. I mean, people have come in several times and with some of the most devastating news, and, you know, if I can be there for somebody, I will, right? The way I view the world, because I am a very, very parentally protective person, and I usually, in general, however I see anybody, regardless of age, is I usually see them as, of course, whatever age they are, or maybe not so, but I always do try and care about them like I would a broken kid. All of us have a inner child within us that is wounded. And so being able to be there and listen and care and show concern and compassion is one of the least things I can do. This world is so full of hate, so full of cruelty, and so full of people that are willing to throw you under the bus, that if I can be there for somebody and hear what they want to talk about, then that matters. Sadly, with a therapist, I already know a lot of the answers because of AP psychology. My last one couldn't help because I literally knew everything he said and even found my knowledge very interesting, which I don't know if is a good thing. Yeah. That's the thing is, sometimes you just need a therapist that you can vent to, right? Everybody has different situations too. And also, sometimes being with a therapist sucks because, like, they're like, oh yeah, let's make a game plan, right? To get, like, let's say, for instance, you aren't in the best living situation. Like, oh, all right, let's help get you out, but you're already doing everything right? You're already working on saving up money to move out. You've already done all these things. Like, it's just waiting, pretty much. Just, you know, working towards something. And so then it could be frustrating, especially if you're stuck in a situation, because the therapist can't always help you get out of the situation, and sometimes they'll dredge up more that can be difficult. Everybody has a therapist that suits them best. Some therapists are insane and can't really help. I've seen a few therapists over the years, and, you know, therapy isn't for everybody. And a lot of therapists aren't meant for certain people. So, you know, most important thing is, honestly, therapy helps in a lot of cases, but having people around you who support you and look out for you, the best thing you can have, really. And not just people who say are yes men, but people who actually, you know, care. That's something that, like, I usually try my best to be not just somebody who says, oh yeah, like if somebody says something, I'm not gonna. Literally, when I told him about my parents, he was like, honestly, you know the answer, you just gotta leave. Yeah, that's the thing, like. And also sometimes, like, if you're trapped in a situation and you're doing everything you can, they're like, have you tried this? And it's like, yes, I have. So that's the thing is like, if you're, some people are natural problem solvers, and it's always helpful to have like a second or third opinion, but in some cases, especially with therapy, it doesn't always apply. I think that it is something that it's better to try therapy and see if it works and really look for somebody who specializes in what you're facing. But I mean, it is how it is. It is how it goes. Some people, too, aren't suited for therapy because they just can't be honest, too. That's something that it's always frustrating when people get therapists and they just lie constantly to them. And it's like, okay, you're paying for a service for what? Then again, that therapy was mostly for my ex, yeah. That's the thing is, like, even if therapy isn't, well, you know, great for you right now, it can be nice to go to therapy if something new happens, right? If something new and traumatic happens that you need help working through, and just somebody to talk to that's, like, not connected to knowing anybody, you know? Because friends will always give somewhat of a biased opinion. So having somebody that can just be honest and help you through things is really helpful based on what trauma you are facing or if anything new happens. The biggest issue is how long I hold on to things. Ah, I see. Emotions, physical things, people. I've always had the avoidant attachment, which I always find interesting, where I am somebody that will cut ties with physical objects and people quite easily. Like, I think it is more natural to let things go than to keep on to anything. Now, in general, like with electronics, I try and keep it for as long as possible, but there isn't any emotional attachment to it, really. But death is a huge part of my life in the transition of it. And that's like both metaphorical and not, right? Like, I assume relationships are just, you know, we can go whenever, I don't really mind. And I'm very quick to move on to different things. Some of the reasons why I love reading. Like, I'm not somebody who gets sad once they finish a book they love. I just get excited to move on to the next thing. I keep away from people, but then I get attached quickly, and then when they leave, it sucks. Aw. I'm sorry. That must be rough. For me, I've had a really big Buddhist influence in my life because my step-grandfather was a very dedicated Buddhist. And a big part of that is like letting go, and cycles are just a very much natural thing. And, you know, there's mandalas that are done in several Buddhist practices where they'll use sand to make elaborate designs, and then it'll just blow away in the wind. And I try and think about that's the kind of the way I view everything around me is there's so much beauty in the present and also in memories too. And it doesn't have to continue on for too long. You can just let things be memories, and that's still precious. I mean, I've had a lot of friends over my years that I've lost, and I'm happy to have the memories in times I do. Don't need them on for too long, though. I normally stay quiet, but because of my experience with my parents, I became very needy to fill that gap. Makes sense. I mean, that's the thing, too, is when you have parental neglect and you naturally don't get a lot of positive feedback or care from others, it can make you naturally really, really seek that out to accommodate it. It's very, very common behavior. But it also makes it hurt a lot more, too. When people that cared about you all of a sudden turn your back or have problems and with you, it can become quite difficult. I can understand that. I usually find the most peace just enjoying the moment, I think. It's really easy to get hung up in the past, or expectations of the future can be the most brutal thing too. That's probably one of the biggest faults I have as a friend, is absolutely no expectations should be held for me, because I will break all of them. I'm not available, I'm not accessible in a lot of ways, and I will be canceling plans and maybe not responding or doing a lot. So, like, for me, I'm usually best with temporary relationships. One of the reasons why I like streaming, because, like, I love talking to random strangers, or when I'm out doing errands. Like, I love traveling for that same reasons, too, because I think it's so beautiful to have these memories. I love my regulars, too, of course, in my streams, but it is nice just to... There's so much beauty in these little moments. There's no sunset that looks the same, and I treat every day like that. Every person, every single moment, every single second you spend talking to somebody is each unique and beautiful in its own element. Another reason why I wouldn't be good as a partner, too. Because I wouldn't hold on to it. Not that I'd cheat or anything. I'm far too lazy about that. But if somebody were to do something or, like, cheat, I'd be like, alright, you know, I hope that you can be with that person and be happy, and I wouldn't really care that much. Goodbyes are the one thing that is a given in this world. But I've handled a lot of funerals in my life too, so as it is. LOL, the list of reasons why I wouldn't be a good partner. Yeah. That's the interesting thing too, is I feel like most people are not good partners. You really have to find somebody who's compatible with your insanity, and even then, like, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. But there also is a problem with a lot of societies worldwide to keep pressuring people to be like, oh, you should be in a relationship, oh, you need to find your other half. But that's not true. That's literally not true. Some of the happiest people I know are not in a relationship, never have been, and never will be. And that's okay. It's much more fulfilling to find your own personal things that make you happy. And of course, if you find somebody who you love and decide to be with, that's cool too. I mean, I have several friends that are happily married, and, you know, every relationship has its problems, but they've decided this is the one person I'm gonna really, really do my best for. I like reading romance, but I don't want that shit. It's something to daydream about. It's too much of a hassle in real life. But it's kind of the same with even friends for me. I kind of just want to live my life. I want to draw. I want to work on projects. Also, I'm so obsessive about things, like, specifically media I like. So, like, my idols are always going to be something that I'm going to prioritize over every human relationship I have. And so it's like, oh, shit. I've had friends complain about it before. They're like, what the fuck? You canceled plans to watch this idol? And I'm like, yes. Yes, I did. But that's just like a given with me. Me reading a good book, I mean, I would rather spend most of my evenings doing that. I'm happy reading. I'm happy drawing. I'm happy working on my projects and writing. But being with humans is stressful. You have to think about what to say, the timing of it all these intricate details, and I like it. I love chatting with people, and I think humans are incredible in so many ways. But I need it in limited doses. I like streaming for that. Control over the environment, too. I get to chat with people, hear new experiences. But I can also choose to engage whenever. I don't like that. Most of my long-term friends are very similar, though, where they kind of live their own life, and then sometimes they'll check in with me. That was a very inconvenient timing. What for? Kind of want to do a blouse where it's like a bunched up, like when you usually hem through like a cord so you can like tighten it and loosen it. Kind of like that bunched up look. I love blouses. That's something that I dislike about modern times is blouses are considered medicine. Had to calm down for a second. Felt like I was panicking, then somebody walked in. Oh no. That sucks. Number one time somebody should not be walking in. Also, let me know if you ever want to change subject or I'm talking about something that is upsetting for you. Your comfort is important to me. I'll just ramble about whatever. I was starting to realize zooming out that this fucking drawing is kind of fucked. It's like slanted. Nah, it just kind of happens sometimes. I understand. I think I gotta drop these collarbones lower. This whole face is slanted. I'll start shaking, then I'll feel and hear my heart. Yeah. I get those moments too. That's part of my F&D though. Alongside PTSD. I'm trying to think about... kind of like that it's slanted though. It kind of has a bit of charm because it's not fully right. Some of the problems I have is I actually draw better on a screen because it's like forcefully 2D, but whenever I draw on like paper, it always ends up so warped and strange because I like always am like not looking at it like straight on. It's always at like a weird angle. I gotta make more tea. How long have I been streaming? 3 hours? That's usually when I end stream. Let me think about it. I'm like, should I end stream? I should preserve my voice a little bit though. I've been trying to do a lot more recordings for my cover songs. And I was doing some voice acting for the next chapter of Axel Derb's project. Episode 7 is out now, where I voice act Robert. But so I was working on that, and I've been working on vocals. I don't know what cover song I want to do next. I was working on Ikanaide, but I don't know if I want to do that one. I keep because there's like 2 octaves I can sing it in, and it's more comfortable to go lower with it, but it doesn't have much of like a... kind of lacks the vibes I want with it. But when I go higher, I have a lot less vocal control, so that's not very fun either. It's really funny because I did so many covers weekly, and now I'm kind of out of songs I want to sing. Because I need to... I only work with songs where the musician has made it clear that singing covers is okay. Like, there's a lot of Vocaloid songs that have... like linked in the description the instrumental or off vocals, so you are able to like they promote you doing cover songs of it. And so I pretty much almost always just do those outside of like of course karaoke. But trying to find one that I want to sing is difficult, and it's one of the songs that I like would like to sing and not necessarily the best. And so it's like, ugh. There's a lot to consider. Okay. It's so funny looking at the difference between this. When I have fun, just going in and shading the separate strands of the hair. Alright, I did not do what I came in to do, but that's fine. Oh my god, look at how night and day these are. I think when I animate, I shouldn't simplify it. I think I should just draw whatever. I think trying to force it is the worst thing I can do. I think probably keeping my style and just maybe limiting the frames is probably the way I'll have to do it. Okay, I think I am going to end stream there. I got some things I gotta do right now. Not right now, but the things I gotta do today. Also, I need to get more tea and everything. It's fun just doodling on stream and yapping, but having to do life stuff. All right. Thank you to everybody who has came by today. Thank you to everybody who has chatted. Thank you to all the lurkers and to the VOD watchers of the future. And I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.